Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel for round number 4 of this PC Tier 1 season. After a thrilling British Grand Prix, we take a trip across the Atlantic to the heart of racing passion. Tonight we head to Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Interlagos circuit, a track filled with elevation change, fast corners, and of course, history. My name is Dan Field, and tonight I've been joined by Nathan Richards. Nathan, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. It's great to be here in the WOR Tier 1 Commons box, and I think I'm especially excited because we're at Brazil again, a track we did last week. PSG, it was such a great race, especially in qualifying with the clones being that close. So I think with the grid, which could arguably be a little bit better, we could expect to see a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this circuit in WOR, especially in recent history, provides an absolutely incredible race. Of course, in season 14, Nicolas Longuet, he took the first win of the season over Thomas Ronhaus. Season 13, Jarno Opmeer had his infamous run where he just dominated the entire field. That helped him on his championship charge. And of course, Nicolas Longuet, he took the championship here, I think, in season 12 it was. So this circuit, in WOR standards, is probably going to be it's the pinnacle. You want to win this one.
Yeah, definitely, and I hope we get to see some other kind of historic moment happen here as well today. But yeah, again, I think it's going to be a really good race here at Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we get into everything, I'll remind you of the calendar. Of course, today we are headed to Sao Paulo for round number 4. So far, we've been to Bahrain, Austria, and Great Britain. They've been 3 thrillers, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go 4 for 4. Then, of course, next week we head to Mexico and then to Belgium. But before we get into the race, have a look at the standings as of last week. Due to Jarno Opmeer's puncture, we have a new championship leader in Otis Lawrence, who took victory in a very impressive style in a 4-5 car fight for the win. By the end of it, it was an absolutely incredible race, and if you haven't watched it already, I do suggest going back and seeing it. Jarno Opmeer, of course, with his puncture, unfortunately did not fit. I think he actually did finish maybe 10th or something, so he did get 1 point in the end just due to the volume of crashes that we saw that race. He is sitting second in the championship on 43 points. Piotr Stahalek, he's doing a fantastic job at the minute so far this season on 30 points. Lucas Blakely, he makes his return this evening. He's on 25 points at the moment after winning in round number 2. He took victory, so he is looking at the moment as a 100% man. He could be the one to watch this evening. Alfie Butcher in P5, and then Max Wiesel level with this Van Pookie in 6th and 7th. Danny Moreno with 15 points in 8th. He's also making his return this evening, with Tomek Parajic in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10 is Andrei Tarabukin. But Nathan, I'll put the grid on our screen now. I think possibly it is the strongest it's been all season.
Yeah, I'm looking through, and there's just some names that catch my eye out. Obviously, Jarno Opmeer making another race here. Stahalek, who's also been doing really good as well in this season. Pedronio, Blakely, Moreno, Ron Har as well making. I believe he hasn't raced this season much yet, has he?
No, he isn't.
Yeah,
He's making his debut this evening.
Well, it'd be nice to see what he can do as well. Obviously, we haven't seen him race much at all. I think he's done a couple of races here and there, so we'll be able to see what else he can unleash out of his car tonight. Looking further down, Otis Lawrence as well. Obviously, he's been performing really well. One of the youngest on the grid, and he's arguably one of the best. Alfie Butcher, Ika Baena, and it's nice to see the likes of Ishmael Fassi, who's really come up the ranks quite slow. Not slow, but he's come up quite quickly. But now he's really into this top tier, so we'll be able to see what he can do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just run the changes that we've got at the minute. So Ika's swapped to Haas. Fab is coming in as well. Fabrizio Donoso in Aston Martin. Ulash Zildrum isn't racing. And I think that Rune Pedreño has also moved over to the Alpine. There's a lot of changes here. Istvan Pookie is replacing Patrick Sipos, and of course Jake Benham isn't here because he spent the weekend at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. But I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. I'm seeing in the lobby we've got 17 drivers at the minute, and I think, as I said previously, Nathan, this is the best grid that we have seen so far this season. So I think we are in for a treat this evening.
I think definitely. I think we really are in for a treat. And obviously, I haven't done any commentating on this tier yet, so I don't really know much about who's been performing the best, who hasn't been. So, Dan, who do you think we should be looking at tonight?
I definitely think Nicholas Longe is going to be the one to watch out for this evening. He really does perform at this circuit, of course, capturing the title in Season 12 here and then winning the opening round of the season in Season 14. So I definitely think that Nicholas Longe, he is going to be one to watch out for. Of course, you have to think of the likes of Jarno Opmeer, Otis Lawrence, Piotr Stahelec, the guys who have been running this championship so far. But I think that Lucas Blakely, he also deserves an eye in here this evening, because whenever he turns up to WOR, he is always on form. And of course, he took victory at round number 2 in Austria. That was an incredible race against Jarno Opmeer. He ended up getting the better of his esports rival. I wonder who it is going to be this evening. Everyone in the live chat watching at the minute, let us know who you are supporting. We have 288 people watching at the minute. And Nathan, of course, I like to think that we've not seen any cars on track, so that's just 288 people watching for us right now.
Yes, definitely, of course. We are the best in the business. So yeah, no, it is great to see everyone in here at the start of the stream just to support the race, and obviously support us as well, because it's a great thing. It's nice that we have people in here to always watch along. But I believe we're going to get underway very shortly, as we've got obviously the full qualifying session and the 36 laps. So it's going to be a long one, but I think it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we normally do the 3-peat qualifying. That is the 18 minutes of Q1. Then the top 15 will advance into the 15-minute session of Q2. And then the top 10 from that Q2 session will go on to compete for pole position in that 12-minute run. And of course, just a few days ago, myself and you, Nathan, we were commentating on PSGL around here at Brazil. But the only difference really is the grid and, of course, the qualifying format. We know that there could be a lot of surprises around, at Brazil, and it could be incredibly close just because of how, short this track is. We're going to see possibly 1-minute 6s tonight. Definitely, they're going to be in the low 1-minute 7s. It's going to be an incredible race.
Yeah, I think from what obviously we saw in PSGL with the qualifying being that close, I think there's going to be some big names thrown out in qualifying and qualifying too, which we don't really expect. Because obviously, with the time's coming down that quick, I think at some point with the track evolution and that, it will come down to the last person to set a lap to get themselves through to Q2 or Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to obviously see at the beginning of the session for about the first 8 minutes, everyone running on the intermediate. Whether or not it is wet or not, you can maybe hear in the background the beeping noise letting us know that the drivers are readying up. That is one thing we do have to, touch up on. Rain, very much possible here. Of course, if you think back to Season 13, that was a completely rain-soaked race. Jarno Opmeer took victory in that one. Of course, Jake Benham was leading for most of it. Then he had a collision with Manuel Biancalila. And Jarno Opmeer, if it rains here, could be on form.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of races in the past as well with Otis Lawrence as well. He's been always a great driver in the rain. I think sometimes with this game, there's many people that are really good in the wet, which you wouldn't really see them at the top in the dry. Oh, and it is wet. Oh, okay. That throws it. Well, I guess that you was right, Dan.
Wow. I got to push up my glasses there because I've just done a pretty amazing move there. But yeah, wow, we've got rain in qualifying. We will join you in that rain-soaked session after a quick word from our sponsors at GridFinder. Welcome back then, trackside everyone, here in soggy Sao Paulo. A lot of rain hitting the circuit at the minute. We're yet to see any cars out on track. You can see the grid on the side of your screen. I've not got the tyre details up because I'm pretty sure we know what they're going to be on.
Yeah, definitely intermediate tyres. I don't think it's enough for wets, but I think sometimes I've noticed when we have a session that starts on the inters, obviously the track evolves very quickly. I think now it comes to the point where literally the last person across the line could get themselves out of that bottom 5. I think if someone near the end sets a time that's quickest, they could end up at the bottom. I think now there's even more pressure on getting yourself out of Q1 and Q2 with these wet conditions. Obviously, if it stays wet in Q2, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see there's some activity down at Alpha Tauri. Someone is coming out onto the circuit. That's either Tom Manley or Ismail Fassi making their way onto the circuit, and is indeed Ismail Fassi. But I'm just looking in the live chat at the minute. John Boy Racing has said pole will be 1 minute 6, I think, if dry. And I think he's got his answer because it is very wet out on circuit. You can see as we ride on board with Ismail Fassi, he's going to have to tiptoe along his outlap here. It's so great to have the real F1 23 cars back here. So it's actually, we know who we're going to be spectating, you know, and Aston Martin is coming out. That is either Fabrizio Donoso or Otis Lawrence. So Nathan, good things are coming this race, I think.
Yes, definitely. I think it was nice to have the F1 World cars make an appearance every now and then, just so we could see the drivers give us their creative side. But yeah, I think of course it's just great to have, you know, the actual cars back, because now we, as you said, we actually know who's who. So you're not trying to guess which one it is when we've got about 7 cars in the same livery.
I mean, everyone using the default F1 World car was just absolutely abhorrent to have to deal with, shuffle through a bunch of other people just to try and find our driver. Although I did like some of the creativity that drivers had, like Tomek and Piotr. They would run their Polish themed livery, and we sort of dubbed them as teammates, myself and Ryan, when they were racing in that. And I loved, of course, Duncan Hoffland's very pink car.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, we're not going to get to see that anymore across the grid, but I you know what, I think F1 23, they've banged it with the liveries, all of the teams. They've it's a very nice grid.
It is. So Michelin Fassi is actually making his way through the first sector with a 19.7 on his first lap. I think these first beginning laps, you can't really take too much away from it, because a lot of drivers are just trying to work out the conditions, you know, work out where they can push, where they can't. Also because different, you know, a lot of these drivers don't normally practice in the wet. I think normally it's like, if it's wet, then we just go and see what happens. Normally you kind of spend all your time practicing in the dry, and obviously, you know, I think as well with the high chance of rear locking and a lot of drifting being involved, it could be easier to drift around here, but it could also make it a lot more difficult. So you've got a lot of high chances of end up spinning round. So hopefully people can make their ways through the lap fine. As Ismail Fassi's already got cut off there by, I think, Nicolas Longe as he comes through the final couple of corners.
Yeah, we'll see what Ismail Fassi can do as he rises off the exit of Junsao. He's looked a little bit skittish sort of on this lap. It's not been the cleanest run, but it is a very damp track, and he is going to come back into the pit lane. You never really want to be the first one out on circuit in intermediate conditions. I'll just have a look at Fabrizio Donoso. You can see that sort of glazing along the circuit because there's not been many cars over, so there's not really a dry line forming at the minute. But as more drivers come out on track and as more rubber gets set down, then we will begin to see sort of that dry line forming, and grip should improve. Donoso is not pushing on this lap at the minute, so I'm trying to see who can we find on a lap. We know that Tomek Parajas, he loves to come out very early, and he's coming out early at the moment. Purple in the first sector as he rises up towards Ferragura, donning that wonderful scarlet red Ferrari.
Yeah, so Fabrizio Donoso does set a lap, but it's a 22.7. That's not a lap that's representable at all. But I think someone who is on a representable lap is Shanaka Clay. He's on a 57.9 in that second sector, split with the first. And he's now coming through 8 of 12, turns 13, in towards 14 and 15. I think this will be a lap because this will definitely be a lap. We'll see what Shanaka Clay can do at the start of the session. It will be a 1 minute 16.023, so pretty decent banker, but obviously there'll be more laps coming through. With the track getting drier, that lap will definitely get beaten very quickly. Yeah,
we'll see what Istvan Pukki can do as he is next to come up towards the line. Then we have 2 Ferraris just behind him as Pukki comes across the line now, and it is a 1 minute 15.721. Very nice time indeed from him. Tomek Parajas will be next. It's going to be a roundabout where Istvan is, 2/10 or so off the pace as Nicolas Longe comes to the line. We know he likes this circuit, and he has gone to the top of the order in Q1 for the time being. Up next will be Piotr Stahelec, who's been very impressive so far this season, been fighting in the upper echelons of the grid, and you expect him to be here today as he comes across the line. Is this going to be decent enough time from him? 16.2. He goes 5th fastest. That's the slowest of the representative lap times so far. We've now got a whole horde of cars coming across the line. Tom Manley has just begun a lap as Donoso comes across the line. That's his second run of the session with a 1 minute 15.5.
Yeah, I think also now obviously a lot of cars get fueled up for a few runs, so over the time you'll see as Fabrizio has done a great lap there, nearly 2/10 quicker than Longe, but he probably had less fuel because he'd been running on track longer. So Ruben Pedreño now is going to come to the line as well, and the other Alpine, his teammates in third. Where will he put himself on the timing board? It will be into P6 there, 16.080, so that's 5/10 off So he's got lots of time to gain, of course. Obviously, that won't get him through at all. But you have got more and more runs. He could go for multiple runs depending on his ERS and his run plan with the fuel. And some people might only do 1 or 2 and then pop back into the pits. It just depends, I think, sometimes on your preference as well. As Otis Lawrence, one man to be watching. He's coming down into that first sector and goes purple in that first sector.
We'll see what he can do then as he approaches the uphill climb in towards Ferradura, this fast right-hander where, of course, Jake Benham had his crash with an Aston Martin just 2 seasons ago. Of course, Jake Benham not racing today, so I'm pretty sure he's glad to be missing out on Brazil as Otis Lawrence now heads in towards Pinarino. This is corner in the dry is very difficult to get the traction down. It's even more tricky in the wet, but no bother for Otis Lawrence. He comes through Pico de Pato now. Next up will be normally what is a flat left-hander, but he has to be a lot more careful on the curves. He rides the curve ever so slightly through there. He's still on a decent enough time. Is Otis Lawrence. A little bit of counter steer off the exit of Junsao, but he's got the power down nice enough, and now off the exit at the final few corners, no DRS. He approaches the line, hugging that inside left to see what he can do as he comes across the line. Will he challenge his teammate for the evening? He goes forward fastest, respectable enough from Otis Lawrence, a 1 minute 15.895, but still not close enough to challenge Fabrizio Donoso.
Yeah, and Thomas Ronhardt's coming through at turn 12, and Jono Otme is invalidated this time, so that is not a good starting qualifying for him at all. Obviously, down now into the bottom 5, he's obviously got to get a time on, but he's under more pressure when he has got a time. He's invalidated, so he can't complete one this time as Thomas Ronhardt goes up to second with a .596. But you can see, to be fair, the grid, considering how close they normally are, there's quite a big gap, isn't there, between like P1 and P16, as Tom Prajic goes quickest with a 15.4, and Nicholas Lager goes even quicker at 0.2. So yeah, the track is really ramping up now.
Yeah, absolutely. Alvaro Caraton will be the next one to come across the line. We'll see what he can do in his Williams. He goes from 20th up into 5th. There's a Mercedes just behind him. That would be either Piotr Stahelec or Jano Otmir, who was invalid on his attempt. Tom Manley only manages to go into P17, that is. Piotr Stahelec will be next up to come across the line. Only a minor improvement just ahead of Iker Baena by 200ths of a second. Up next will be Danny Moreno making his return since Bahrain. He'll be 10th for the time being. Up next is going to be a Red Bull, I believe, towards the line. Is that going to be Josh Idowu, who's not on a push lap at the minute? What about Jed Norgrove making his first start this season? Also not on a push. Otis Lawrence going once again. Alfie Butcher, I think. No, it's going to be Iker Baena up next towards the line. Again, not pushing. So a lot of these guys just getting their laps back on the way, and they're going once more. We've seen sort of consistent running since the beginning of the session. So from an entertainment point of view, it's been a fantastic watch so far.
This is a great thing. I've been watching this lap here with Jono Otmir. He's done a pretty good first sector. He's coming now in towards turns 12 at Junsao, and what will it be? It's a 57.538. That is purple in the middle. That is actually a really great middle sector. So this could be definitely a top 3 maybe for Jono as he comes out through in towards turns 13, 14 and 15. Currently 19th. Obviously this time will be a lot higher than that as he comes to the line. What will it be for Jono Otmir? It is going to be 7th, so a 15.666. So obviously that will need to be improved, and many drivers still on improvement. So Otis Lawrence is on improvement by 2/10. I think that Josh was on the improvement by 5/10, but he has invalidated, so that's a big shame for him. But I think now obviously the people in the bottom 5, Piotr, Iker, Tom, Matthias and Lucas, they're obviously going to have to get some really good lap times in, because otherwise they're going to struggle heavily. Between Piotr and Jed is what? Just under 20 tenths of a second. There's actually Jake goes to P8, but that eventually will become 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths of a gap.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence comes across the line. He just splits the 2 Ferraris, goes ahead by just under 200ths of a second there of Tomek Perez. Very nice time indeed from him. We've got an Alfa Romeo up next towards the line. That'll be Matthijs van Erven. It's going to be 2.5 tenths of an improvement. However, only P18. He is currently in the drop zone at the minute, as is Piotr Stahelec, Iker Baena, Tom Manley, and one man we've not seen so far this session, Lucas Blakely. We haven't seen him since round number 2 at Austria. He missed Silverstone, I believe, because he was actually at that race in Silverstone. He wasn't able to get home to Scotland in time to tune in for WOR, but he is making his return this evening. He'll be coming through the final few corners to get his lap underway, and he really is leaving everything to its latest point. We've only got just under 7 minutes left in this session. I think it's going to be the only running that Lucas Blakely is going to get here. Yeah,
Lucas seems quite calm, doesn't he, and quite chilled out. It doesn't seem like he's under much pressure, so this could be a sign for Lucas that he's got some great pace to show in qualifying and the race. And he, as well, I see he crosses the line. Tom Manley also crosses the line, puts himself into the top 10. Yeah, let's see how Lucas can do on his lap.
Here he is then off the exit of the Curva del Sol. It's not very sunny at the minute over Sao Paulo, but maybe in the race the fortunes will change with a few cars just ahead of Lucas Blakely. It's 18.5 seconds through the first sector. We'll see what he can do then as he ever so slightly counter steers off the exit turn number 4, getting the uphill climb in towards Ferradura. Now, how's he going to approach this corner? Relatively normally, it's a double apex corner, of course, and then a little bit sketchy on the curve, completely sliding his way through that next right-hander in towards Pinarino. Is this lap recoverable for Lucas Blakely? We'll see what he can do then. I know that sort of sliding is sort of the meta along this game as everyone else is coming back out onto the circuit. Nicholas Longue leading this session, does not feel safe currently on his time. It's not looking all that good so far from Lucas Blakely, never mind 57.2 from him. That's purple in the second sector despite that massive slide in through what I think is, well, it's just the corner before Pinarino. It's like Larangina or something, I don't know. As Nicholas Longue gets a 5th place grid penalty. Here comes Blakely to the line, and he'll go into P3. I think that means we're going to have a session restart by the end of qualifying, because Nicholas Longue, that is an undeserved penalty, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think it's something that's been quite common, hasn't it, with this game so far. Yeah, we'll have a restart if needed, and we can sort it all out. Perfectly fine, but now a few more people are heading out on outlaps to begin their final runs of the session, but still there's quite a few in the pits. Obviously they only want one, but there's a few out here like Danny Moreno, Esteban Pookie might go for 2 or 3 runs on their interties to try and get themselves through into qualifying too. But at the moment, Josh Udo is in the bottom 5 with a 16.065, so at the moment the cut-off I think will be probably like a 15.5, 15.6 to get yourself through to Q2. So pretty much everyone, I think, maybe apart from the top 3, have got to get themselves another lap in, or they're going to be under some real pressure near the end of the session. And surprisingly, I didn't think to see Josh in the bottom 5. I thought he'd be one that's comfortably through into Q2 and Q3. But obviously at the start of the session, coming to the end now, obviously you're not. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how qualifying one ends. But I think at the moment it's hard to call who will go out to qualifying because of how close it is.
Absolutely, it is so hard to predict at the minute. I think you could just put all the names into the hat and you'd have an equal chance of getting the drivers that actually do end up being eliminated from the session. We were watching Fabrizio Donoso along his run. He had a little bit of a run-in with Tomek Paragis, and maybe that is something for the stewards to look at as Rune Pedreño goes into P5 with just under 4 minutes left to go in the session. We will watch Nico along his lap as he continues this one. Actually, we'll check in on Lucas Blakely. No, he's not on a lap at the minute. That is Danny Moreno coming to begin his lap. So we'll go back on board with Nico because he is improving by almost 2/10 in the first sector. We'll see what he can do as he comes through sector 2. He's 1,000th beneath 2/10 to the dot. We'll see what he can do then as he gets a good exit off the exit of Yun Sao. Here he is, and we'll ride on board with the Ferrari. He's going to keep it pinned to the left hand side as he approaches the line here. We'll see what he can do. Currently on a 15.2. Where's it going to be for Nicholas Longue? 15.071, really asserting himself at the top of the standings. He is now 2/10 clear of anyone else for the time being. Tomek Paragis, his teammate for this evening, comes across the line with a time of 1:15.319. Very nice from the Ferraris.
I'm currently watching Oki by Henry's. He was 1.5 tenths up on these first sectors, coming now through in towards turns 10 and 11 at the moment. Obviously on a 16.169, so should get yourself through to Q2. But I've noticed Alfie Butcher's been put into the drop zone with a 15.9, so obviously he's definitely not one we'll see drop out, surely, in the session actually, because dropped down.
Sorry for cutting in there. Lucas Blakely to the line. 1:14.953 from him. That's the first 14 of the night.
Yeah, that's it. Great lap from Lucas. Considering when it was, he had all them slugs in the first lap, and he still did a 15.3. I think that 14.9 is definitely representative of what he can do in qualifying. But you can see a lot more lap times putting Danny Moreno into the top 7. Both the Alpines comfortably in the top 8, and Alfie Butcher's now into 11th. Thomas Ronhard's coming through out of turns 13, 14, and 15. But I think he's started a lap along with many others.
Yeah, Matthijs van Erven is next to come across the line with a lap, but unfortunately it is not enough to get himself out the drop zone despite a decent improvement on his lap. So it's not looking good for Matthijs van Erven. I'm seeing Fabrizio Donoso coming out of the pit lane, I would say a bit late here. I don't know if he should have enough time to get around. He'll have to push a little bit, but 1:30 left on the clock. It's not long until the end of this session. Shanaka Clay comes to the line, goes 3,000ths ahead of Jarno Opmeer. Jarno Opmeer just beginning on a lap here, I believe. Well, he's not looking actually that quick, so I think he's going slow on a cooldown lap, then he'll push once more. Lucas Blakely also not on a push lap at the minute. Neither is Nicholas Longe. Shanaka Clay also letting everyone go through. So I think we are just reaching now, Nathan, the calm before the storm. We will see the final laps coming out very soon.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jed Norgrove's on a lap at the moment. Tyres Van Erven let off, I think, at the exit of turn 1, so he must have made a mistake there. And Jed Norgrove's up by 2.5 tenths of a second, which I think still is just about might be enough to get himself through. But I think unless he can make another improvement on his next lap, I think that might be it, done for him, as Ruben Progenio is retired from the session in the pit lane, so he's done and dusted with a 15.3. Jed Norgrove there into the top 14 with a 15.5. Ron Ha is in the drop zone. He's definitely not one we expect to see down there, as he's also, I believe, getting ready to begin another lap. As Van Erven, can he improve? No, we can't. And I think Stahlek's on a great improvement as well with a 5/10th improvement in that middle sector.
We find Piotr Stahelec, he's down in 19th position. We would not expect him to be in the drop zone, but he is finding a very nice time at the moment as Nicholas Longe gets back ahead of Lucas Blakely. Here comes Stahelec to the line. It's only P18. He will have one more opportunity, potentially. And no, never mind, he's going to straight line in towards turn 1. That is his session over and done with. Let's see who else we can find on a run. I'm trying to see. I think a lot of these guys have just started their last laps. Ikabayana will be next up to come across the line then. He is currently dead last at the minute, the only driver on a 1:16. Here he is then approaching towards the line. The clock has struck 0. No new laps can be started from this point onwards. Ikabayana unfortunately going to be sent out of qualifying this evening. Who is next to come across the line? Tom Manley will be peeling back in towards the pit lane. This is Isvan Pookie towards the line next. He's currently in P12. Can he secure himself in the next session? Indeed he can. He'll go into P7. Up next then, Danny Moreno, currently in 9th position, finds an ever so slight improvement, but it isn't enough to move him any positions higher. Alfie Butcher then will be the next one to come across the line, gets himself out of danger and into P8. Up next then will be Matthijs Van Erven in Alfa Romeo, currently last at the minute, gets himself back ahead of Ika Bayana. Fabrizio Donoso finds himself into P3. Thomas Ronhal, will he be eliminated from Q1? No, he won't. He'll survive and put Ishmael Fassi into that drop zone. However, he is improving. Can he eliminate Josh Idowu at the end of this session? Jan Ortmir finds himself in P3. Here comes the AlphaTauri now to eliminate the Red Bull. Can he do it as he comes across the line? Indeed he can. It's P7 for Ishmael Fassi. He gets himself in towards the next session, and unfortunately that is at the expense of Josh Idowu. Tom Manley just survived by the skin of his teeth. Both Red Bulls out, one of the Mercedes, one of the Alfa Romeos, and one of the Haas cars eliminated from this session.
Yeah, I think to see both Red Bulls out to me is a bit of a surprise. I think Josh, should have got himself into Q3. Jed, I don't see much of him, but I think, normally you could get yourself into Q2 at least. So it was a big surprise, but then again, coming to the end of that session, it was more or less the last person to cross could get a great lap in. The gaps are really, really close. It's about, 4 or 5 tenths between 1st and 16th, which on a wet track is quite close, especially when you see some of the times, like how close together Ruben and Danny are, and how close Otis, Tom and Josh are. Anyone could have been out of that session then, which is just a big shame for the Red Bulls.
Yep, sorry there, Nathan. I've put on the screen the gap to the leader. Even though we are in the wet weather conditions, this is a relatively close session. The gap between 16th and 1st was just 5 tenths of a second, which of course in Formula 1 terms, and especially in PC Tier 1 terms, is a massive gap. But in the rain, where the skill gap is quite a bit bigger, I think that is a very respectable gap, and it is still very close between this upper echelon of PC drivers. So I think heading into the next few sessions, if it continues to possibly dry up ever so slightly with more rubber being applied on track, then maybe we could have a very nice end towards this qualifying.
Yes, definitely. As we can see the qualifying on the board. Would you like to go through it, Dan, or?
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I can take that. Nicholas Longe, he tops this session by just 1/4 of a tenth ahead of Lucas Blakely. Jan Ortmir lines up in 3rd, and Fabrizio Donoso with a decent enough time on in P4, I believe, making his debut this season. Tomac Parajas, ever so impressive in qualifying, puts himself in 5th. Shanaka Clay in 6th. 7th is Fassi, ahead of his fellow countryman Alvaro Caraton. Pookie in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Thomas Ronhar eliminated from this session. Idowu, Norgrove, Stahelec, Van Erven and Bayana just surviving. Butcher, Pedreno, Moreno, Lawrence and Manley, I think, was the last few drivers there. I got there in the end.
And it's dry, I think. It's not raining, but it's a wet track, so it will get drier.
It is.
Which
Yeah.
now do we see the softs come out, or do we see Interzat's aggression? I'm gonna have a look at the tie graphic because I want to see. So we got Nico on the soft, so he's obviously changing over. I think many people are changing over onto dries because it's one of those weird ones. The track looks wet, but then obviously when you drive on it, it feels dry.
Yeah.
And Salik's left. That's not ideal, but hopefully he can get back in soon. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. This is really interesting.
Yeah, we can see some activity down in the Ferrari garage. I think that's Tomek coming out onto the circuit. He has got the intermediates fitted. See what Jan Ortman's got, and he's also got the inters. So I think, excuse me, at this point, it is not dry enough for the slicks. But once we see some drivers come out on circuit and get their rubber onto the track, hopefully we can see some slicks towards the end of the session.
It's possible. I think we'll definitely see it near the end unless it starts raining again. But I think for now, we should be fine as Tomek's going out the pit lane along with, I believe it was John Uppbeat, isn't it? Yeah, heading down in towards turn 4. But yeah, it looks like it's on the brink now. It's that kind of crossover of it. You could risk it with the softs, but I don't think you'd be that much on pace. But yeah, I think it's definitely drivable, just not quick enough to set a lap time on us. Yeah, a lot of people now coming out onto track, all on the intermediate tyres, so we'll probably see 1 or 2 runs on the inters before it starts to get dry, because you can see a dry line start to appear from where Jana's been driving as I'm on board with Bradzish as they come through in towards Ferragina and Lavangina at turns 6 and 7. But yeah, I think, there was pressure on them last time when it was coming out of Q1 with 50 making it through. Now only 10 can make it through, and with it going from, we presume, wet to dry, that could make it even more pressurising, because it means you have to get yourself a good lap at the end of the session. If you set a lap on the inters, maybe it's a 1 minute 10. If you go into the final part of the session, you've got to get yourself, if it's dry, you've got to get yourself in the 107s, 108. So you can't afford to make mistakes in your final laps, especially when it's going from a wet to dry session. So yeah, I think some drivers will be under a lot more pressure maybe than it was in Q1, especially some of the drivers who, are normally in that Q1, Q2 knockout stage. Obviously, people I think like Nicholas Longe should be fine, but obviously there'll be some in here who want to get themselves out to Q3. But it's one of them, isn't it? It's a close one.
Yeah, I think it's just really all about timing here. You've got to get your run absolutely perfect, because if you are, starting your lap too soon and then you're ahead of everyone else, you're not going to have the ideal track conditions, and then all of a sudden you're going to be slower than everyone else, and you could see yourself eliminated from qualifying, even though if it was in the full dry conditions, you could be quicker than those around you. So we'll see how everyone plays this strategy, and of course no one's going to brave it on the soft at the minute, because you don't want to waste a set when you're not going to have an ideal lap time whatsoever. It's still not dry enough, but as more of these intermediate runners get some time on the circuit and clear some of the water out of the way, hopefully the soft will be good enough to go at the end of the session. We're watching at the minute Jan Ortmann on his lap. Once again, he's sliding his way along through here. I don't think they're really taking these interlaps all too seriously, but it is nice, just in case that the softs aren't good enough towards the end of the session. It is nice to have a banker on the boards. I do think it is pretty smart for all these guys to be coming out on a set of the slicks rather than on the intermediates rather than staying in the pit lane. As Ortmann comes to the line, you can just see the track improvement already. That is a good few tenths quicker. Tomek Bradzish, wow, to the line. 1 minute 14.0 from him. That is quicker by almost a second of what we saw at the end of Q1. And that's an incredible time from the Ferrari. Ismail Fassi puts himself in P2. Shanaka Clay in P3. So I think Jano's time really wasn't all that good.
No, as Fabrizio Donoso's gone purple in that middle sector, he's going to be putting a great lap time in as well. But you can see the track's just getting drier and drier as we go now. Fabrizio Donoso obviously going to come up to the line. This lap means absolutely nothing, I think, in terms of getting through to Q3, but it will be quickest with a 13.996. Now, I think a lot of people staying in the pit lane, that could be just so they let these 5 go out, get the track dry out, and then they can go out on their softs, as they just have, some of them, well, most of them haven't been bothered to go out.
I'm wondering when everyone is actually going to start to venture out on a set of these slick tyres, because some of the guys in the pit lane, like Isvan Pookie, like Alfie Butcher, they've all kept on the intermediates. And actually Nico, I remember him at the beginning of this session fitting on a set of the softs, and already he's moved back over to the intermediates. So maybe he's just using that as a precautionary, because if need be, he can come back out onto the track, because what if it doesn't get dry enough? There's not many drivers out on circuit, really pushing the water out of the way, and it seems like everyone is sort of one and done at the minute, because Jan Ortman's come back into the pits, as has Tomek Perejic, and everyone else is going to be following suit. So all of a sudden now it's not looking like there's really going to be anyone able to clear the water away.
I think also there's that very slight risk of, obviously, you know, the weather settings for the lobby is normally on approximate, so it isn't 100% through. So there is that slight chance that it could start raining in a second, and then people who haven't been out already are in a really bad situation. But I think that shouldn't be the case. I think it will be drying up a lot more, and I think it will eventually either be very cloudy or it might even be sunny at the end. You know how quick the weather can change in a qualifying session here on F1 23. But I think now we'll see many people probably starting to get ready to go out. You'd think now, right, you know, everyone's been out. If we're going to take the softs, why not go out now? You'd think people would be straight out the pits, but no, it seems everyone's taking a bit more of a relaxed approach, as Jarno and Ishmael have swapped over and Shanaka onto some sticks, and now this is a dry track as the DRS has been enabled, so we should see some more people out on the track shortly.
That normally is an indicator when the DRS gets enabled that it is time for the slicks, and everyone in the pit lane is beginning to fit on that set. So I think with 9 minutes left to go, we've already past 6 minutes. I can hear some activity down in the garage. Who is it going to be coming out on track first? We'll just have to wait and see once one of the engineers come out of the garage. I can see in the Alpine that would be Istvan Pukki. He is the first one to come out of his box. Will he be the first one on track? I believe he will be. So for the first time in this session, we have got some slick running. It's going to be Istvan Pukki taking us through.
Yep, so we'll be the one to kind of be the guinea pig to test if it's actually worth going out on the soft tyres. Some people might follow suit. Some might actually stay in the pits and be like, we'll see what Istvan can do. Then we'll make our decision. As you can see him slowly heading out of the pit lane onto the track. I believe this is the Reta Raposta, this back straight down towards turn 4. And nice if I can go on board him. There we go. You can see now just warming up the tyres, getting himself sorted as he comes round. I think it's one of the shortest tracks, isn't it, Dan, if correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's one of the quickest lap times along here. I think it's only beaten really by Austria, which is of course an incredibly quick track just because of how many, you know, high-speed corners and how straight it is. But yeah, certainly Brazil is one of the shortest laps, which means sort of less margin for error around here. You're going to have less time to actually sort of give away. I guess if it was around a track like Belgium, you know, you could give up maybe a tenth or two to the very top of the circuit, but you can gain it all back throughout the very long lap. It's not really impossible around a circuit like Brazil or like Austria, so it's definitely a little bit more tricky to get everything perfect in qualifying, and you really do need to be on your A game. Of course, that is normally why we see around tracks like Brazil and Austria, qualifying is just so close.
Yeah, with the track being so short, everyone, you know, they're just looking for that minimal 1 or 2 thousandths of a second in the corner, which you think of it, a thousandth of a second is just, it's, you know, you can't even think of it, it's that small. So when people are fighting for 2 or 3 thousandths of a second, you know, it just shows how competitive and how much on top level they are. And I think another note we need to make now, with obviously going to dry, is in the wet you don't want to really touch the curbs at all, because you know, they'll just throw the car around. Well, now in the dry you want to go as close and as far on that curb as you can. But we know track limits around here can be horrible, especially down at turn 4. So I think we'll also now see that equation of some people having their lap times lost because they've gone a bit too deep and just trying to push too much. As Istvan Pukki is now heading down to turn 1 to begin the first off-run lap of the session.
Actually got Tom Manley, who was able to overtake him on his out lap, and he will be the first driver to get his run underway. You can just see the difference in speed already as he approaches turn number 4 at Descida de Largo. See the power that you can get down. It's so much quicker, so much more sharp in the drier conditions than the intermediates. In towards Ferragura now, you can carry so much more speed along this uphill right-hander. Then it's going to be a little bit of a heavy braking zone in towards this next right. Immediately switch back over to the left, which is still going to be a little bit sketchy with traction due to the fact that it is still a drying circuit. In towards Bico de Pato now, and off the exit through here, we'll see if he is going to take it flat in towards this next left-hander. You bet he will. Tom Manley on rails at the minute. He is purple, understandably, in that first sector. We'll see the first proper representative lap time of this session being completed, as now to come through the final few corners, open that letterbox at the rear of the car for the first time this session, and to come across the line, Tom Manley will do a 1:10.480. Of course, as this track dries up, Nathan, we're going to see much quicker times than that, as Istvan Pukki is up next towards the line with a 1:10.730, and the laps, they'll just keep on rolling in.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on board now with Nicholas Longe coming through in towards turnout. Obviously, he should be one we'll be keeping our eye on to see what he can do with Shanaka Clay. Goes up to the top there with the 10.319. So we'll see many more lap times coming in now. I think the next one to cross the line might be Fabrizio Donoso, but he's on the set of intermediate tyres still. So that's an interesting one. We'll see what Fabrizio can do on these tyres as he comes through. Moreno up into the top four with the 10.845. Fabrizio 12.5, so that's going to be expected. You're not going to improve too much on those tyres. Tomac Prajic, quickest with a 109.912. Nicholas Longe is going to be next across the line in the other Ferrari. We'll see what he can do. He will put himself to the top with a 109.5, 4 tenths quicker than Tomac in second. Lucas Blakely into the top four. Otis Lawrence into second with a 5.16, very close there. 15 tenths between. Jono Opmeyer goes up to the top now. We've still got a few more laps to come through, and I think Ruben Progenio is going to have a great tow there from one of his, I think that might be his teammate, is Van Pookie.
Yeah, Alvaro Carreton comes back into the pit lane. We'll watch his fellow countryman Ruben Pedreño come up towards the line next. I think he is on the beginning of his lap. Excuse me here for a minute. Yeah, he'll get his lap underway. Someone's just come across the line. That would have been Ismail Fati going into P2, the 1 minute 9.449. It seems like that is the general consensus quickest time in the minute. Someone's slow in that final sector. Is that Danny Moreno? I think he is just backing off, coming back into the pit lane, although he was improving by a decent amount in that second sector, I believe. So I'm not too sure what's happened there for Danny. We are still yet to see Thomas Ronhart, Alfie Butcher and Alvaro Carreton set lap time so far in this session, as everyone's coming back into the pit lane with just under 4 minutes left to go here. It's looking like it's sort of building up, Nathan, to be a very climactic ending to this session.
Yep, I think obviously in the last session we used only intermediate tyres with Thomas, Alfie and Alvaro not going out for a first run. I think they're relying on the fact that they can get themselves through to Q3, so they only use one set of soft tyres, but they've got 2 or 3 sets then for Q3. So I think they're thinking of the long-term plan, the fact that if we can get through, we can save a set of tyres to help us in that final session. As now Ruben Progenio heads into the pits, but he was on an improvement, a really good improvement as well, so that's a surprise for him to head back into the pit lane. So at the moment, the bottom 5 is Fabrizio Donoso, Ruben Pedreño, Thomas Ronhart, Alfie Butcher and Alvaro Carreton. But obviously now we've got 3 minutes left. Alvaro's heading out onto the pits, and I'm sure many more people will follow him very, very shortly.
I think that was clever from Ruben Pedreño there to back off on his lap, because look at the timing. We've only got 3 minutes left to go. He'd have had to go around once more on his cooldown lap, then get the car service, and then go out once more. And I think he would have been cutting it very fine with the lap that he was able to do. So Ruben Pedreño, he's thinking about the bigger picture. He's come back into the pit lane, getting that car service now, strapping on a fresh set of tyres so it could be more competitive come at the end of this session, critically on a drier circuit. Alvaro Carreton then the lone driver out on this circuit. He was not set a lap time so far this session. We'll see what he can do then as he comes up through Ferradura on his outlap, and he's come out a little bit earlier than everyone else. I'm wondering if he's fueled that car up a little bit more. You can see he is burning some fuel there by you can just look at the telemetries on the throttle, but he's also applying about 50% brake. That's going to be warming up the tyres as well, but it is critically going to be burning off as much fuel, so this car could be as light as possible. Nathan, that is something you just have to do at this level if you want to be competitive.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to do everything you can, even if it's the latest thing which you think normally wouldn't make sense. See if it works, you've got to do it. But I'm noticing everyone now coming out onto track. Traffic could pose an issue, because look at them all coming down the rest of the pasta, trying to overtake each other where they can. They've got to be careful they don't collide. They've got to be careful that they don't hold each other too much. And, well, we have another penalty. So I think a restart is definitely inevitable, because Nicholas Longe's got a penalty, now Danny Moreno. But it's the joys of F1. Oh, so that's 3.
Well, we need footage, of course, if we're going to get that restarted. And Danny Moreno's got another one. Oh my god, they need to spread out, because Alvaro Carreton, he's going to come barreling through these guys on his lap, and especially in the second sector, it's going to be so difficult for him to clear this traffic. He's purple in sector 1, understandably, as this track continues to get drier and drier. It's a 16.733 from him. We'll see now what he can do as he climbs up towards Ferradura in this double apex right-hander. A lot of inclination through here, then he's got to get the car stopped for this next right Larangina, now in towards Pinarino, where he's going to be met with all of this traffic. Nicholas Longe, I don't think they care anymore. They're all getting the penalties. We will be having a restart, hopefully. That is now 10 place penalty for Longe. Look at Carreton as everyone gets out of the way, heading in towards, oh my word, how many cars Alvaro Carreton has to squeeze through there, and he manages to do that very nicely, and he's going to pick up a pretty decent tow from the Ferrari in front of him, which I believe is Nicholas Longe. He's going to get it completely down the main straight. Alvaro Carlton given a huge advantage as he comes across the line. What will it be? It's going to be a 1 minute 7.176 from Alvaro Carlton, blowing every time out of the water. That is a fantastic effort from him there to get his time on the board. However, of course, we still have, 14 other cars to set their lap times. The clock has struck 0. Everyone, luckily, has made it towards the line. Up next will be Fabrizio Donoso. One mistake and your qualifying could be over. We've seen that from the track evolution around here from Alvaro Carlton's lap, is that you need to be on your A game. And the guys at the back of the grid, they are going to have the best conditions possible. Here comes Fabrizio Donoso then off the exit of the final corner, then the final few corners of Yun Sao. Get the power down as early as possible, open up that DRS, and we'll see what he can do as he comes across the line, hugging it towards that left hand side. It is going to be P2 for him. He's not quicker than Alvaro Carlton on 1 minute 7.198. Tom Manley finds himself in P3. Up next is Shanaka Clay, gets himself ahead of Manley. It's going to be Tomek Paragis towards the line next. His teammate Nicholas Longe is coming through the final few corners as well. Alfie Butcher has gone into P4. Paragis in 6th, 7th for Moreno. He could be in the danger zone. There goes Longe towards the line with a 1 minute 7.138. He's quickest of them all. Never mind, make that Istvan Pukki. Ismail Fassi out of this session, as is Pedreño, as is Danny Moreno, as is Jarno Otmir, as is Otis Lawrence. Lucas Blakely towards the line. He's quicker than everyone else. He is on the, he's the top of Q2, but that is some big names out of this session. Jarno Otmir and Otis Lawrence eliminated from qualifying.
Well, we said at the start there was some big names out, but Jarno and Otis, I'd say probably two of the best in this grid. Out in qualifying too. That is a really big shock. I definitely did not expect that, but Lucas Blakely and Istvan Pukki, great laps there, a tenth ahead of everyone else, but that is a big loss for those two in that second qualifying, along with Danny, Ruben Ishmael, who at one point were comfortably in that top 10. So the end of that qualifying, it was very intense. I think it comes to the point where a few thousandths, if it was just a few thousandths difference, anyone else in, I'd say, 6th below could have been out. Shanaka down to Jarno was just 60 thousandths of a second. That's 7 positions. So that was absolutely a mental ending.
Yeah, I mean, what, incredible end to qualifying, and hopefully Q3 is gonna bring up everything else. I mean, it's been sort of a roller coaster for Spanish people today. I know I'm just throwing that one out there out of nowhere, but they've just won Wimbledon. But look at how many drivers from Spain eliminated from qualifying. Danny Moreno, Ruben Pedreño, and Ismail Fassi. It's certainly been a roller coaster of emotions for Spain this evening. Those three will be joined by Jarno Otmir and Otis Lawrence in that drop zone and eliminated from qualifying. But look how close this grid was, just 0.4 of a second separating the field. But it is Lucas Blakely, fastest of them all, just 13,000 ahead of Istvan Pukki in P2. Nicholas Longe with a plethora of penalties in P3, and then Alvaro Carlton with his lap time managed to get himself into 4th despite having much worse track conditions. I think he'll be thanking Longe for that one. Donoso's 5th and Clay is 6th. Then rounding out the top 10 is Alfie Butcher, Thomas Ronhard, Tom Manley, and Tomek Paragis. That brings us, Nathan, to the end of Q2. It brings us in for Q3, and so far this has been a fantastic session, and I think we're going to expect much the same at the end here.
Yeah, well, qualifying 1 was a great ending. Qualifying 2 is even better. If qualifying 3 can be even better, this could pose for such a great qualifying. And I think I've watched many qualifying sessions in the past, and this one, it's getting close to become one of my favourites by far. It's been such a great session, especially the end of that Q2 session. Anyone, I'd say probably like 5th or 6th lane could have been out at that final point, but obviously with Otis and Jarno being out, that also makes that another historic point for those two. Two of the quickest out in that second session. But it means this final part of Q3 could be even more interesting, because there might be some names that we don't expect to see.
There's a little bit of sun peeking through the clouds at the minute as all of the drivers come out onto the circuit, and I'm wondering what their strategy is through here, because normally at the beginning of sessions, drivers will come out and set the scrub set of tyres that they used in the previous session just to get a banker lap, get a little bit of a psychological boost on your proper push lap. However, with the intermediate conditions, most drivers have only used one set of I think everyone has only used one set of the soft tyres, for the most part at least. I think actually no, there's a few guys that set times on the original I think everyone actually did. They did 2 laps in Q2. Forgive me for being forgetful of a session that just happened 5 minutes ago. But of course, everyone saves tyres as well in Q1. So I'm wondering, are they going to be pushing from the beginning of this session?
I think they will. I think if I'm correct, it was Alfie, Thomas, and Alvaro who didn't go out on that first set of softs, so they definitely can use a new set, whereas everyone else did go out. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, for some reason, F1 hasn't added the implementation of us being able to see someone's on a new or used set. We have to kind of judge by looking at the tyres, so it's quite unfortunate. But I believe it's kind of half and half at this point.
I'm just looking in the live chat, sorry, I'm going completely off topic. I've seen a message from Danny, says, a sheep outside Otis's house put him off. So we have to blame the sheep for his exit in Q2. Of course, being Welsh, they've got a lot of sheep around there, so I do not doubt that for 1 minute. Alfie Butcher, first one out in Q3, and immediately his lap comes to an end. He invalidates at Curva del Sol, which means Alvaro Carreton, who got that blistering run in Q2, is going to be the first one to set a time. And I think the tow from Nicolas Longue really did help him along his lap, because it sort of just punched a hole in the air for him. He had no wind resistance whatsoever on that Williams, and if it's anything like real life, it's going to have no downforce whatsoever, so he's going to be so quick on the straights, and clearly it worked out very well for him as he continues along this lap.
Yeah, I'm currently on board with Alvaro Carreton as well. He's coming down now in towards turns 11 and 12. Obviously, he'll be the first to set a lap as Alfie invalidated on his time. He's coming through the middle sector of 50.447 for that first and second sector split, which is a decent time at the start of this qualifying session. You can see now the sun is definitely on its way. You can see peeking through the trees as he comes now down the back straight through turns 15 up to the line. What will it be for Alvaro Carreton? It'll be a 7.10, which for a banker lap is a very good time. Lucas Blakely also coming across on as well with Thomas Ronhar, I believe, who's going to be starting a lap as Lucas is finishing one. It will be top of the boards for him with a 107.0 on it, and I still think we've got lap times coming through. Yes, we do. Fabrizio Donoso up to the top. Parajic into the top 4 there with a 1.24, and Thomas Ronhar's now heading down in towards turn 4 on his first lap of the session.
Oh, very nice from Fabrizio Donoso, gets himself into P1, and the first 1 minute 6 so far is Thomas Ronhar. The exit of Desida La Larga, unfortunately, has a very snappy exit, and it's maybe put him off ever so slightly. He's been able, although going off circuit, he's been able to keep that one valid. We'll see what he can do then as he comes through Laurangina now and in towards Pinarino, this long-winded, slow left-hander that's so tricky on the tracks, and once again, he gets onto the curb on the outside. Thomas Ronhar struggling at the minute, and unfortunately, I just don't think the tyres are beneath him. He's putting too much throttle on too early, and he's oversteering the car off the exit, so it's not looking good for Thomas Ronhar, but no worry for him. He's still got just 8 minutes left in this session. There's only been 4 times on the board, so the Dutchman, he'll just have to brush that one off, come back into the pit lane, and go once again.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of an issue for Thomas at all, but he won't be happy with it because it could have been a decent lap time, could have got himself a decent banker, but yeah, you could see he just put the throttle down way too early. So I don't know if that was because he was using too low gears, or it could be something to do with the self, I don't know. But yeah, he was really, on the throttle a bit too much. As now we have more people coming out onto the track. Got Nico Longue, Alfie, Isfan, Tom, all heading out onto track. Obviously, Alfie Butcher also had a lap time deleted as well at the start of this session, so he obviously needs to pay dividends for that and get himself a good lap on the board. With 7 minutes remaining, we'll see most people do possibly 2 more laps from now. A lap now at the mid-session, and then at the end they'll do 1 final lap, which I think normally at the end of the session is kind of like, you got nothing to lose, you will just push like hell just to try and get yourself that lap, because around here, you need to push to get yourself 10,000ths of a second. That could be the difference between pole and P4. It's that close around a track like this, with it being so short. It's a bit similar to how you can see times happen in Monaco, because of the track being so small, and there's obviously there's only a limit of what you can improve to, and there's only a limit of how fast you can go. Everyone is so close together, so I think qualifying around here is probably one of the, I'd say this is probably top 3 in terms of tracks that you can qualify around. It is always great entertainment to watch.
I'm just looking at all of the drivers out on circuit. We've sort of had an IndyCar format here. We've got the first 5 coming out on circuit, and then 5 others coming out on track at the exact same time, as some drivers are coming now. I believe we had 6 at the beginning of Q3, but Alfie Butcher dived back into the pit lane at the end of his lap due to his invalidation. He'll be the first one out on track now to navigate himself through some traffic here, but I think we saw how well they got out of the way for Alvaro Carreton. That was a very challenging situation to be in, so I think they can get out of the way of just one lowly Haas in that second sector, as he's invalidated once again off the exit of turn number 4, and that is really going to be playing on the mind of the young Englishman. He's not going to be pleased with his performance so far in Q3 because that is 2 laps done, 2 sets of tyres wasted, and Islam Pookie also, unfortunately, just invalidating his time. So a lot of mistakes being made, maybe a bit too late in the session here.
Yeah, Nico went through that first sector and did a 16.6, which I think from what we've seen so far is a very good sector. It was purple, obviously, but I think it's 2 or 3 tenths clear of what we've seen so far, maybe, at the start of the session. He's now coming through as a bit of a snap of OC on the exit of turn 10, but he's now coming through turn 11, now in towards Junso with a little bit of traffic, but nothing too hard to navigate through. Out of Junso with 50.9, I think it was, in that second sector, as he heads now out of turns 13 through in towards 14 and 15. In other words, just a straight with a bit of a kink to the left. And we'll see what Nico Lange can do at the line. Will it be at the top? It will be at the top with a 6.906, 60 thousandths quicker than Donoso. I think that was also Caraton heading across the line with a 107.1, and Shinaka Clay also heading onto the line with a 107.121 to put him into the top 6. And I still think we've got 2 more cars to come through. It is Thomas Rono and Istvan Pookie. Thomas now coming through, and he's let off on his lap. Istvan hasn't, I don't think, 'cause he's coming through in towards Ferragura now, and then in towards Langina at turn 7. Then he's descending towards turn 8 there, just hugging to the inside. Very nice. And then you have turn 9, I think it's Pinarino Hero here, just hook the car to the inside, ride the curve on the exit. Then you come down in towards turn 10, very difficult here, you can lock up easily and lose the rear. Very nice out of there for Istvan Pookie. He comes through in towards the middle sector, and I don't think he's on a time. No, he's not, so I just commentated on an outlap. How great.
I've just seen someone in the live chat asking about my camera settings. If you go to Jan Ortmir's YouTube channel, you can find his settings. I've basically just nabbed it from him if you're interested. Here comes Fabrizio Donoso towards the line. I do believe, no, he's actually coming back into the pit lane. I wonder if he's going to have enough time to get another run on the board. I think, yeah, definitely. He's got 4 minutes left in this session. Lucas Blakely, I think, was on a lap. He's unfortunately invalidated that run. He's improving by about 2.5 tenths of a second. So everyone now peeling back into the pit lane, aside from Thomas Ronhar, who's getting a lap underway. So I'm just wondering, now I think it's a good time to ask, Nathan. Everyone in the live chat who is watching at the minute, let me know who you think is going to be taking pole and what you think the pole time is going to be. And Nathan, I'm going to pose that same question to you.
Oh, it's a hard one. It's actually a really hard question. Normally I'd have a few names in mind, but here, anyone could do it. You know what? I'm going to go with Fabrizio Donoso. He's done great in the first 2 qualifyings. I think Nico's looked well, but I think Donoso could just about get himself ahead. So yeah, I'm going with Donoso. But Dan, who are you going with?
That is a very tough one. I think the easy pick is Lucas Blakely here. And you know what? I think I deserve to treat myself with an easy pick. I'm going to go with Lucas Blakely with a 1 minute 7.7. A low 0.7, I think, is going to be poll time. We'll see what everyone is saying in the live chat. There's also a poll if you want to vote on that. Here comes Thomas Ronhard peeling himself back into the pit lane. Alfie Butcher then is the next one out on circuit. And we'll read some of the laps out. Great minds think alike for me and F1 Aiden, saying a Lucas Blakely 1 minute 6.7. Tenji is saying 1 minute 6.6. Owen Considine saying Alvaro Caraton at 6.7. We know how quick he is along qualifying. Beavers F1 saying Tomek with a 1 minute 6.798. Very precise indeed. William Wallace says Lucas Blakely, as does Larry Kyle with a low 0.8. Someone saying Mazepin. I don't think he is racing this evening. No shouts for Alfie Butcher as he's coming through the final few corners, getting his lap underway, Nathan.
Yeah, he's going to have a decent start. He's coming through up towards the line, obviously taking that wider line as you begin your lap in towards turn 1. So this should be a decent lap for Alfie, if he can make it through turn 4, that is, as he comes down into turn 1, down to 4th gear, back on the power so as you come through the exit, the centre S, then through the curve of the solid turn 3. You should ride the curve there. Then you head down the rest of Raposta with the DRS, of course, in towards turn 4. A few cars ahead. Hopefully should move out the way for Alfie as he heads down into here. And this time, hopefully he can nail this correctly. So he goes into turn 4. And he doesn't! Again for Alfie! The third time in a row is invalidated.
Third time is not the charm for him, and I think everyone watching has just left out a massive sigh. Fabrizio Donoso, it's another penalty on the board. I think we are 100% getting a restart in this lobby. Trying to find who is then next out onto the circuit. I think it is Alvaro Caraton on a lap here. Currently on 1 minute 7. 1:06.108. It's respectable, but it is not going to be anywhere near the pole time, so he needs to pull his finger out, get this lap on the board. We'll see what he can do. The end of the first sector is a decent improvement of 700ths of a second. He's going to have no traffic along this run, very dissimilar to what we saw at the end of Q2 for him, where I think he had to hold his breath through the final sector, but he's going to have no such issues at the minute now in towards Larangina. Still right on board with the Williams. He's going to switch the car back left through this long-winded, slow left-hander, get the power down as early as possible, and very nicely taken indeed for Caraton. Then in towards Bico de Pato, where you want to run as wide as possible through here, then keep it pinned to the left-hand side, use all the curve possible on the inside, and he's going to be improving by about 1.5 tenths of a second. It's looking decent for Caraton, but if he finds a big improvement in this final sector, he could find himself on pole position by the end of this session. At the minute then, he should be on for provisional pole. Here comes Caraton towards the line now. What is it going to be for the Spaniard in the Williams? Oh, so close indeed, just 300ths off the back of Nicholas Longue. What about Lucas Blakely improving by 1.5 at the minute on this lap to come across the line, and he improved, but it wasn't by enough, and Lucas Blakely has fallen at the final hurdle with a 1:07.0. It's not good enough for pole position for him. Then we'll see what Tom Manley can do. Currently on a 1:07.119, improving by over 1/10 of a second. Could he get himself potentially onto the front row, maybe on pole position? Could be second row for him ahead of Lucas Blakely. Shanaka Clay comes to the line, but it's only P6 for him. Alfie Butcher, unfortunately not able to get a lap time. He really has just completely choked this session. Then up next, Nathan, will be Nicholas Longue towards the line. Currently on provisional pole with a 1:06.906. What is it going to be for the Frenchman who seems to love this circuit? He took title here in Season 12 towards the line. He improved by 0.03 of a second. Will that be enough for pole position? Isfan Pookie puts himself into P6. Fabrizio Donoso towards the line on pole position with a 1:06.890. He goes to the top of the order. Tomek Paragic manages to go into P7. Thomas Ronhar up next towards the line, but it is unfortunately an invalidation for the Dutchman. But Lucas Blakely and Alvaro Caraton not on push laps at the minute. If you said Fabrizio Donoso on pole position, really well done to you, because that is a fantastic time from him with a 1:06.890. But I think Nathan, a lot of mistakes being made in that session.
Yeah, definitely. I think two of the ones that made the most mistakes, which is a surprise, is Alfie Butcher and Thomas Ronhar in the Hassan Alfa Romeo. Thomas invalidated on his final lap. Alfie invalidated on all of his laps down at turn 4 now. If Alfie's doing that in qualifying, we've still got the race to go. You've got 36 laps. He needs to make sure he doesn't invalidate 3 times, then never mind 36 times. So this could pose an issue possibly for a couple of drivers with the with the race going up with the track limits and the penalties. And I believe we're getting a restart because people are leaving the session.
Yeah, with the amount of penalties we've seen, Isfan Pookie is going to do his best to get this session up and running. Looking in the poll at the minute, we had almost 400 votes. 19% of people voted for Fabrizio Donoso. However, I know a lot of people have been very cheeky there, because I saw when he set pole position it was around about 10 11%. So all of a sudden spiked to 19, so you're not all that sneaky. But yeah, really well done if you said Fabrizio was taking pole position, apparently using no tyres at all on my graphic. Same goes for Nicholas Longue, but look at the gaps at the top of the order, just 13 thousandths of a second separating former teammates P1 and P2. On the second row is Alvaro Caraton and Tom Manley. No slouchers whatsoever. They are within 1/10 of pole position. Lucas Blakely, I think he's going to be a bit disappointed with that run. A 1:07.002 from him to put himself into P5. He'll start alongside Isfan Pookie. Then Tomek Paragic in P7 alongside Shanaka Clay. Then 9th and 10th, Thomas Ronhar and Alfie Butcher. They really just could not get the laps down. Alfie Butcher invalidated at every opportunity, and Thomas Ronhar could only manage 1:20, which is slower than what we were seeing in the intermediate. So I'm pretty sure, Nathan, it's safe to say that that was not a good enough time for him whatsoever. He definitely made a few mistakes on that lap.
Well, I think a few is probably an understatement. A 20.4. Well, let's just hope he doesn't do that in the race. But we'll get a restart, because I think we had Danny Moreno with a 10 place grid penalty. I think Nico had a 10 place. Fabrizio had a 5 place. I think a few others as well. So obviously, it's right we have a restart so we can get everyone in the grid order. Otherwise, we'd end up probably seeing Jan Rotmir on pole because of how crazy it was with all the penalties. And yeah, we are just leaving the session now. We'll get the other one up and running. But hopefully, we can get underway soon. But Dan, obviously, coming out of the qualifying session, Yeah, no notice being out. Do you think they can try and pose an attack for possibly a top five or a podium in the race?
It is certainly possible. I mean, we've seen some incredible charges through the field in past WOR seasons and in past Brazilian Grand Prix, so I definitely think it is possible for one of those guys, or maybe someone else behind as well, to take the fight to the very top guys. And of course, we just know how close this grid is, so I think it really is going to be a fantastic race. One thing also key to note is that unlike the last game, which was just a consensus hard to mediums or mediums to hard, we can see a lot of variety in the strategy which the drivers can use to their advantage and try and get one up in the pit stops.
Yeah, I think strategy also plays a key part. I think what we saw in PSGL, there was many different strategies happening. So yeah, that could be another talking point. Maybe you'll see someone like Jan Roti think, right, we'll start on the softs and maybe go into some hards, or start on the softs and go into some mediums, and then see if that can work out for them. It could do. It might not. It might work terribly, but they've got to try and do something different to get through the field. I think also with safety cars being a possibility, that can also throw it into the mix of a bit of luck, maybe for some drivers to get themselves through. So yeah, I think the race. Yeah, anyone in that top five, top six, I think you can say can win because of how different the strategies could work. You could see everyone in the grid, maybe someone soft, mediums, and hards, and obviously, all these different strategies. There's probably about 5 or 6 possible strategies that could work.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much, variety on this new game, and I definitely think it is a massive improvement on the last game. And I just a quick thing before we get into the race, I do apologise for sort of my cough that's been going on and my blocked nose as well. I'm still recovering from a cold, if you can believe it, from last week. But I'm trooping forward in this race. It's certainly a lot better than it was, but I am having a little bit of a hard time. And I'm seeing someone in the live chat say, Daniel, give us a spicy prediction. I don't know if they're talking to me, so to say. Of course, my name is Daniel, but or maybe if it's just someone in the live chat. But I'll give a spicy prediction. Why not? I'm trying to think. I'm going to say Josh Adowu is going to score a top 5 by the end of it. Nathan, I think we'll go to you as well. You got a spicy prediction there?
You ought to want me on the podium.
Okay.
I think normally that'd be an easy one, but considering he's in 11th around here, that's going to be hard to do. But I think he can do it. But sorry to cut you off, Dan. I've just seen someone in the chat say that I look like I'm related to Benji Fishy. Well, it's not the first time I've ever heard anyone say that, but thank you, I suppose.
He's the Fortnite guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think he went to the Silverstone race. Yeah,
I saw that.
with Lucas and was it Wilson?
Yeah,
I think
he was with McLaren, and I was talking to my mum also after last week, and she was saying, "Oh, did you say that you went?" Because I ended up going to Silverstone on the Friday, and she was saying I had to drop it in somewhere. I didn't feel it was right, but just to make her happy, I was also there, but I didn't see the likes of Benji Fishy or the icons Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes.
Yeah, I know you said that you went last minute or something, or it was a last minute thing. So did you just book a ticket last minute, or was it a kind of surprise thing?
It was a weird situation. We rent out a room in my room and in my house, and he works at Silverstone, and then his girlfriend couldn't go, so I ended up going with my girlfriend as well, who was watching at the minute. So it was a fantastic day, and I'm sure Benji Fishy, yourself, Nathan, had a fantastic day too.
Well, yeah,
we're run out of things to talk about.
Exactly. I never knew who Benji Fishy was until a couple of weeks ago, and I've seen a few people say I do look like him. I suppose, being as he's, I presume, one of the best on Fortnite, I'll take that as a compliment. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if he's someone to be complimented about, but I'll take it. It's better than looking like no one.
Yeah, I don't know who I've been told I look like, but maybe someone in the live chat's got something there for me. I'm not too sure. We're deviating from the topic. One thing I've noticed in the lobby, Nathan, as the grid gets sorted out, is that the weather is thankfully set to dry. And I think it is very nice that we have a wet qualifying, because that brings unpredictability, and then a dry race, because typically it brings much better racing.
Oh, for sure. A wet race around here will be definitely close to being boring. I don't like to say the word boring, but I think it definitely would be. But with the dry race, all the DRS, all the battling, I think it'll be a great one. We did last week at PSGL. I've done this track countless times, especially on the last game, and every single time it brings a good race. And I can see that it's been changing the settings to unpredictable, whatever the setting name is. It's been swapped over.
Oh, from
but I presume it'll stay dry.
What, from perfect to Is there something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question mark with the cloud. I don't know what it means, but yeah, it keeps getting swapped over.
I'm always playing F1 with my friends, and they always say, set it to dry, because they don't like wet races. Neither do I. It is definitely a lot more difficult. It's a lot more challenging to get it absolutely right. But these guys, I'm sure they're not going to be bothered whatsoever, whatever the weather is, because this is the sort of pinnacle of league racing. These are the best guys that we have in WOR, and if anyone can handle the wet, it's them.
Yeah, I think it's nice to see these kind of unofficial leagues take so many good drivers in, because you have the likes of Otis Lawrence, and a couple of others who don't ever get that, like, who can't have that chance to race in esports yet due to age and I suppose other reasons. So it's nice to see them be able to, challenge these guys at the top, and then other teams. I'm sure esports teams watch these and be like, "Oh, this person does well here. Maybe we could look at approaching him." So and so. I think Otis is one. I think if he keeps at this level, as soon as he turns 16, there'll be esports teams right in his DM straight away, because anyone at this point would want Otis Lawrence in the performance he performs every week. Considering he's 15, he's one of the youngest in the league. I know there's people in esports who've raced and they're in their late 20s, mid 20s. Otis is 10 years younger than that. He's got way less experience, and he's got, compared to some of them, a lot more skill, which is not nice to say, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think a lot of that sort of publicity that he's got is from league racing, because formerly, from what I remember, is that, it would sort of just be challenges and then drivers would get picked up in the pro draft and such, but now teams are beginning to sign these young league racers as academy drivers and then putting them into events, and they've been scouted from leagues like PSGL and WOR, so the growth of league racing on the whole is absolutely incredible. The track's been changed to Las Vegas for some reason. I think I don't know what's happened. I think everyone's getting a bit impatient. They were told to ready up in the Discord chat, but and they're all now flashing their little indicator. I'll bring us over. I think everyone might be a little bit bored of us just on the screen, but you can see what they're doing in the game there.
I don't know why. They've been told right. Come on, guys, get us into the race. You're making us wait even longer. Keep flashing the ready up indicator. Yeah, I think they've calmed down. I think we are getting underway now.
All right, bring us back over, because I just want to quickly check in the rules and flags, or in the simulation settings somewhere. We do have the formation lap on, because that caught me off guard last week. On.
It's on this week.
It's on this week.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping it's on. I'll bring us back in. Before we get it started, and I think just to be safe, before we get into the race, I'm gonna run the ad now. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors at GridFinder. So we'll see you in just 1 minute time. Welcome back, everyone, as we are just loading into the session, getting ready to see what conditions we are met with. I'd imagine it is going to be nice and sunny in the sky there, not a cloud in sight. We're getting ready for this race. Everyone will be locking in their strategies, and I'm wondering how much variety, Nathan, we're going to be seeing.
I think we'll see a lot. It's either going to see a lot of variety or none at all. It's one of the two. It seems to always go that way. But I think the top 10 will see different strategies. Maybe some start on hard, some start mediums. We might even see a soft time make an appearance, especially people lower down. I think people who are starting at the back are more likely to go to the softer campaign just to try and work their way through the field. The likes of Yano and Otis as well, who we know are always on great pace, they might want to go maybe for a medium or a soft, just to be a bit, to try and just charge their way through and then hold their position when the pit stops happen. But yeah, I think it's hard to call. I think at the moment anyone could try anything and it either pays off or it doesn't. Obviously, we're still at the early stage of the game, to be fair. We're only a month in, so there might be drivers still trying to test out different strategies to see if they work. Obviously, esports, I don't know when it is, a few months' time, I presume. Obviously, these leagues are always a great way to test and ready for the actual events.
Yeah, this is normally sort of a volatile state in league racing, and we do have the formation lap on at the minute. But yeah, we're in a volatile state of the game where everyone is just getting to grips with it. It's a big change as well with the handling model and such, so things are going to be a lot different. And wow, this is something I did not expect to see. We've got almost half of the field on a set of the hards. Shinaka Clay on the softs, and then 13th downwards. That's Danny Moreno, Rumbadrenio, Ismail Fassi, Josh Adowu, Jed Norgrove, Piotr Stahalec, Matthijs van Erven, and Ikavayana, all on a set of the softs. And Nathan, I'm wondering, what does that tell us here?
Well, it tells us they want to make their way through the field, but the issue that poses for people like Jono and Otis is they're going to be eaten up on that opening lap probably. So this could be interesting, especially for the people such as Danny and Ruben, who are right behind these hard tyre runners of Ronhar, Ralphie, Jono and Otis. I think also it could pose some incidents because people on the hards will be slower, they'll be braking earlier than people on the soft, and they'll also be being a bit slower through the apexes. So I think we could also see a bit of contact between people if they get a bit too eager. And obviously for Shinaka Clay, with these hard runners being right behind, if he can get that perfect start and Thomas Alfie and that can defend, this could be perfect for Shinaka to try and work his way through without being at the risk of Danny, Ruben and so on. Yeah, so this will be an interesting beginning.
It is absolutely going to be so unpredictable what we see, because these guys are going to be so quick at the start of the race, but the likes of Ronhard, Butcher, Altmir and Lawrence, they're not going to want to give up these positions because they want to hold them back as long as possible. I definitely think there's going to be a bit of a conflict of interest between the soft and the hard runners. So now that we've seen the tyres locked in, Nathan, I'm going to ask you the question. I'll pose everything to I'll pose the question as well to people in the live chat. What's the podium going to be? Who's finishing first? Who's finishing second and third?
Well, for first, I'm going to stick with Donoso. I can't lay him down now. He's got pole. I'm going to say he's going to get the win. But I think second, Lucas Blakely. Third, Jono Ottmere. I'm going to go for it. Oh, and he's been disco. So that'll set him back a little bit.
So he's missed his grid slot, and so Nicholas Longe, he's going to have seen that. And I'll go on board with Alvaro Carton. You can see how far behind he is, and it's actually better to look from Longe's point of view. How far that Aston Martin is back in his grid slot. It's definitely going to cause some issues for him. A few more guys out of position as well. We're getting ready for the start of this race. We can't see the lights here. There we are. We're going ready to go here in WOR for round number 4 at Brazil. And we are green. Nicholas Longe with a good start. Already going to be challenging in towards turn number 1. Alvaro Carton as well with a decent jump as they approach the centre S's for Richard Donoso. Able to clear off in towards turn number 1. We got some cars being disqualified. I'm not too sure what has happened at this point, but they're all going to be skirmishing and swapping positions. Nicholas Longe not able to get by on Fabrizio Donoso. Tom Manley has found himself into P3. Look at the start that Shinaka Clay has had. Caution in the first sector. Something's gone wrong there. I'm not too sure what has happened here, but we've had 3 drivers be disqualified, and I have no clue what's happened.
Yeah, well, Ika got told he was reversing off the start line, and Shinaka Clay up into P5 now. Well, I presume a restart's
They're not
racing because that's an odd one. That's a weird one. I know Ika got. Oh, and there's a big crash, so there must be a restart. There's people flying all over the road.
Okay. Yeah, this has not been the. I think we really have earned the name World Online Restart, haven't we? I mean, what are we seeing here? Yeah, we've just got confirmation in the Discord chat. We are getting a restart here, so chaos is likely going to ensue from this point onwards. I'm just going to see what's going to happen at turn number 1.
Oh, surprisingly clean. I hope people are aware.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I hope. Otherwise, there might be people thinking, oh, hang on, why is everyone so slow behind? Yeah, because we're restarting.
Yeah. Well, it does. I think some drivers are definitely going to be annoyed at that, because the likes of Shinaka Clay was able to gain a bunch of positions, as was Ismail Fassi and Danny Moreno as well. And Jan Ortmer and Otis Lawrence, now that they've seen what everyone else was behind is doing, maybe it's going to give them an inkling to change their strategy up. And I've just received, we've just seen that the formation lap is going to be disabled.
I'm quite worried because no one's stopped racing. They're all still racing normally. I think Nicholas Longe is left just, but everyone else is still racing. Also, come on, Gothis, please take the hint. It's a restart.
I think someone's just got to straight line it in towards turn 1.
So I think that's kind of the indication, is it? Just.
Too sure what we can talk about. Oh, I've got us over to.
back to our podcast like we had earlier. This time it won't involve Benji Fishy.
Sorry everyone, I just accidentally put us over to the race trailer for the wrong circuit. I tapped my keyboard there. We've got DRS now enabled.
And we're clean again in turn 1.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happened. I guess, you know what, it's nice to have some action on circuit, but Nicholas Longay's gone way off the circuit. I think he knows that we're restarting, so maybe he's going to cause some mayhem. VSC's been deployed now.
Isn't Pookie meant to be the one hosting as well? He's still racing around.
Oh dear.
Oh, and he goes out. I think that kind of in the end from it, yeah.
Okay, now they now everyone's gonna get the message that we are retiring. We're getting a restart, and it's all chaos down here.
Yeah, and just the confirmation in the YouTube chat we've called a restart. Yeah, so don't worry. People aren't taking each other out like this normally in a race. Hence why I said normally it doesn't. It happens sometimes. I think we said it in the past. We're not here, but in other leagues, people. Well, we saw it in ACC with Verstappen, didn't we? But I think it was yesterday. He did an endurance race and he took someone out into
in VC iRacing, wasn't it?
Yeah, iRacing or ACC, one of the two. Yeah, I saw that. But someone hit him into turn 1 spin round. He went straight back for them again into, I think it was Brussels. It's quite a funny moment.
The straight line Campos as well. I remember that. And I was just paying attention to the status of the safety car. We had about 6-7 cars crashed out onto the circuit, and only at that point was the full safety car deployed. For some reason, I think Jarno is the only one yet to actually retire. He's still cruising along. I'm not too sure what's going on here, but you know what? I think it's time. There he is. He retires. Tom Manley's car is just going to go along as is Shinaki today. There we are. We get confirmation that it's all over. I can bring us back over, Nathan, into the screen. I think an apology is due. I can see the live chat going crazy at the minute for Jarno Ottmere leading this race P1. Well done, Jarno.
Well, it would have been correct. I did say Jarno would be in the podium. I never said he'd win, but I said P3. So, but yeah, it doesn't matter, unfortunately, because another restart is inbound. As obviously, our common alias is World Online Restart. That is happening yet again. I don't actually. Do we have any restarts in the previous T1 races?
I don't think so.
Because we did in social races with Ryan. I think there was 2 at Qatar, I believe it was.
I remember in Qatar, lobby 2 or something, it restarted itself. The game decided to restart 3 times for some reason.
I was going to join you as comms, and then kind of said, or someone said, or whichever league it was, said, "Oh yeah, it'd be alright, don't." So then I decided to engineer the person who was in the race, and was like, "Yes, come on, we can do it now. We've got a lead of 2 seconds. We're on lap 5, yes." And then it just ends and restarts. Like, oh, what's gone on? Yeah. And then I believe that happened about 3 times before we actually called quits. So it was about 2 hours late.
Yeah, that was I think my first commentary on the game, and I did not have high hopes for how it was going to go, but luckily we are not faced any such issues ever since. It's been a relatively stable game, but getting into this one, we saw a very good start from Shinaka Clay on the softs, and I'm wondering if sort of everyone saw the huge amount of drivers on the softs behind, and maybe they're going to swap their strategy here.
Could be possible. I think it's a shame because then I hope we don't see everyone on the hards or everyone on the softs. But yeah, I think some people might change their strategy a little bit, which is a shame. But we'll see what happens. It could create more chaos. We don't know, and hopefully we get underway soon. I'm not in the lobby yet. I'm not sure if it's set up properly. I need to try and find someone to lurch off to get into the lobbies. I don't have the host added. I think Ika's racing isn't he yet. We'll join Ika, see if he's in the right lobby. I believe he will be. Yeah. And hopefully we can get underway again. But it's it's a shame when we get this little podcast brought on when we have nothing to talk about. We did it all at the start, thinking, we won't need to restart again, surely. But yes, we do, unfortunately. And this time the formation lap will probably be off.
Yeah, I think it's best, and I also think it's best, Nathan, if we just restart our games. I mean, I'm sure we're not the issue, given that we're just spectating and we've done really nothing at the minute, but I think it is best to just give the game a restart, let everything refresh itself, and we can get back into this one. But coming into this one, everyone, I suppose, someone said congratulations to Daniel for being the first 13-year-old to go a full bid since Nigel Mansell. I'm not sure I'm 13. But thank you very much for complimenting. I don't know if it's a compliment of the bid. I know that Nigel Mansell's got a fantastic moustache, so you know what? I'll take that one as a compliment. But heading into
Well,
this one, I'll I'll pose a question to everyone in the live chat. Is that after we've seen sort of the miniature start there, is anyone's podium predictions going to be changing?
well, I know perhaps I'm not going to change mine. I have to stick to what I said. It's Fabrizio, Lucas, Giano. I think. Oh, we're not in the second lobby. I think normally it's a. Oh no, is there another restart? I've gone into the lobby and everyone's left the lobby because this one's not there. I'm very confused what's going on.
I think Isfan, he also restarted his game just to
Oh,
make sure
okay.
there's no issues. And I suppose that is very important, him being the host, but he should have one open now. I don't know if you've got me on your friends list, Nathan, but
I don't think I do.
oh dear, well,
Unfortunately,
it's fine.
we have time to add each other, don't we?
Probably,
Maybe.
yeah. I'll launch Steam on my laptop and then I'll accept your request. But yeah, just gonna look in the live chat. Someone says George Morgan P1. I'm not too sure he's racing this evening. We've got Jatin saying Yano P1, Lucas P2, Otis P3. That is a very bold prediction, I would say, for Yano and Otis to climb their way up through the field and then get on the podiums. That is a very interesting one. But you know what? I'm all for it. Another prediction, Tenji says that Lucas P1, Yano P2, Otis P3. So despite their bad qualifying, it seems like there's a lot of faith still in Yano and Otis here.
Well, I've got faith in Yano. I've got faith in. Oh, no, I don't mean I haven't got faith in Otis. I've got faith in both of them, but I think Yano can do a podium. I think he can manage one up. I think first of all, Yano has been in league racing a lot longer, so I think he's had these moments many times where he's had to start from a bit further down than usual. He definitely won't have the type of start that Max Verstappen would have when he starts in the bottom 10, but I think he'll definitely have a decent one, work his way up the field, kind of stick where he's maybe he's around P5, P6, and then he can start to sit back, wait for the pit stops, and then that's when the chaos normally ensues, isn't it? The pit stops. More than any other time.
Yeah, that's when you sort of want to get the advantage over your rivals and then be ahead of them in the pit stop phase, because once you're out on circuit once again, it gets incredibly racy, especially with the amount of different strategies that we potentially could see heading into this one. It is going to be an incredible race. I'm seeing some calls for a Nicholas Longue win, then Lucas, then Jarno. Tice is saying Fab winning, then Lucas, then Jarno. Nico P1, I'm seeing Otis P1. Yeah. There's a lot of variety.
Manley.
Tom Manley P1. You know what? I like that prediction.
A nice prediction, that is.
Yeah.
Definitely, I don't think it's one we see often, but he's starting P4. It's more than possible.
No, I'm just trying to recall. I think Tom Manley, back in season 14, he had a bunch of podiums, but I don't remember if he was able to actually capture a win. So it'd be nice to do it around here. I'm not seeing, I think, enough predictions for Nicholas Longue though to take victory, because he's been so good around this circuit. Last time we were here, he took victory, and of course he won the championship here in season 12. He's always been quick around this track, so I'm thinking that he has got probably the best opportunity to win this race, starting from P2. Himself and Fab very close in qualifying pace, and I just remembered I actually haven't given out my predictions. I'm going to say Nico takes victory, then Fab, then Lucas. So I'm not going to say that Jarno and Otis, I don't think they're going to be able to get on the podium. There's just so many unknowns here in WOR, and of course we saw that last week in Britain. If you didn't watch that, that was a fantastic race. Jarno Ottmir and Alvaro Carreton taking their hards almost towards the end of the race, just hoping for the rain to come. Both of them got punctures, and I think, Nathan, I don't think we're going to see that tonight, unfortunately.
I don't think we will. We might, but I think the chance of that back-to-back would be very, very unlikely. But as we said before, anything can happen. We never know. It could be the chance that we could see somehow it being a wet race, even though it says dry. You know, F1 23. I don't think as much as F1 22 likes to throw in anything it can to a race. Obviously, with this grid, it makes it a lot more interesting because they kind of tend to adapt to any situation very well, considering how, you know, sometimes different the conditions can be. Like, I know for a fact I've done league racing in the past on the past game, not yet on this game, but, you know, I've practiced in the dry all day, then it's wet, and and I end up being completely off pace. But these guys, they do no practice in the wet and still manage to be putting in some really great times. So, yeah, I think if anything comes at these guys, these are the ones who can really, really, you know, just adapt straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is just all attributed to the grind, because I used to think, before I commentated and before I was properly league racing, that the top guys, they were just naturally good at the game. And I was like, oh, how do I get better, guys? I think Nathan's unfortunately just left the session. You can see I'm the only one here in Discord, sadly, but I'll keep saying what I was saying. There we go, Nathan back in the call. But yeah, so you just have to get on the grind as much as you can and put as many hours into this game as possible. And I see that from when I look on my Steam friends list and it says how many hours people actually put in recently. I've only driven about 10 hours maybe in the past few weeks, and I'm seeing shouts of 100 hours in the last 2 weeks, 90 hours in the last 2 weeks, and that's just a level you need to be F1 Esports caliber.
Yeah, I know one person I was looking, because I was intrigued looking through different people's hours on the game, and I think Timo Zelenkovic, who races normally in Tier 2, I think he was on 190 hours or something a couple of days ago. So some people are, and you can see as well, you see these people that put lots of time, and you can see how quick they are. I think Dylan Warren, he's only got about 80 hours, which considering compared to some of these is actually quite low. So, we don't know if his pace really reflects off that or not, but, many people you can kind of see, when they're on pace, it's because they got more hours. It's just, generally it's just how it works, isn't it? You've got more experience, and to be fair, people are like, oh, yeah, you've only gained a tenth of a second, but if you can be consistently a tenth of a second quicker, that's a few seconds over a whole race.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And those, every little gain that you get is so impactful at this level. When you're in the lower leagues and stuff, in the lower tiers of WOR, you can be a few tenths off your rival, and they'll make a mistake at some point and you'll be able to catch up with them. But that just doesn't happen here. You have to be on your A game in PC Tier 1, and that is the beauty of it. I'm seeing a lot of people getting a bit impatient, saying, when does it start? And you know what? Actually, I take that one back, because everyone has been incredibly patient for staying with us this evening. We've got almost 2,000 viewers just watching us at the minute, and Nathan, they are finally going to get rewarded, because we are heading into this session. I think it's a good time to truly apologise for the issues that we've had so far this evening, but they have all, hopefully, fingers crossed, been rectified, and we are going to have a fantastic race in store.
Are we heading in, or is my game glitched?
We are heading in, yeah.
Oh, well, my game's glitched because I'm still sitting in the lobby. Not ideal. Are you actually heading into the session itself?
Yeah, I am. 20 seconds, and then we're getting ready. You'll be able to rejoin, hopefully, at some, quickly. But,
yeah. I need to restart the game, so... Great.
Okay, well, for the time being, then, I will bring us into the game scene. And, yeah, you can see, once again, still completely sunny here in Brazil, and we are not having any rain for the foreseeable future. I did get a little bit worried when I saw all of the softs strapped on to the cars that there was going to be some sort of rain imminent, soon in the race, but that just doesn't seem feasible with the amount of cloud coverage being 0. So heading into this one, I'm not too sure what the strategy is.
No, Norby, I'm trying to get back in. I think I should be in shortly. Sorry if I'm not listening properly. I'm just trying to sort this out quickly. It's not an ideal scenario. And are we underway yet?
Not yet. I'll let you know when we're heading into this race. I'm just looking. I'm peeping into the garage. I'm seeing mediums on standby, interestingly enough. And here we are, everyone. We're getting ready to go in this race. We had no countdown, no timer on the screen. But we are green here, and it looks to be a nice start from Nicholas Longue, heading in towards turn number 1. Last time by for Richard Onoso, got the better of him, and it's going to be the same story as they head in towards the first corner. Istvan Pukki and Shanaka Clay getting up a few places. They pile through the centre races, 3 wide further back behind between Danny Moreno, Jan Ortmir, and Josh Idowu. Alvaro Caraton challenging to the inside of Nicholas Longue as they head in towards turn number 4 at the end of the Descida La Largo. That is because the soft compound tyres doing absolute wonders for Caraton as they head up the hill in towards Ferradura. Shanaka Clay getting very racy early on behind Istvan Pukki. I'll put the tyres on your screen. You can see as Clay goes to the inside at Larangina. Can he get that move on Istvan Pukki? Butcher follows through, and all of a sudden the Hungarian is down a few places. Little bit of contact between Clay and Butcher, but so far it's been a clean start. Look at them all filing through the Cotapato side by side. getting the elbows out early, and the soft tyres are absolutely perfect at the minute. The hards feeling the pressure.
Yeah, I'm finally back in and I'm looking through. Alvaro gone to the soft. That's a pretty odd one as he now goes for the lead. Down into turn 1. He's going to pull to the outside line. Can he get ahead of Fabrizio? Because Fabrizio is defending it quite well as we go down in towards turn 1. And will it be? I think it will be Donoso. Just keeps himself ahead of Caraton as they go down in towards turns 1 and 2. But a nice line through there for Caraton. He's going to have a bit of ERS to use as they go down this straight there. ERS open for Alvaro Caraton. He pulls to the inside line. I think he has got himself ahead of Fabrizio as they go into turn 4. Yes, he has. So now it's time for Caraton to pull that gap to at least a second. So the soft tyre run can really work, because there's still lots of moves going on down below. Otis Lawrence being dropped by the fields. He's obviously on the hard tyres, now down to 15th.
Yeah, as Danny Moreno gets by on Lucas Blakely, heading up through Ferradura. Shanaka Clay ahead of Tom Manley. I'm not too sure if you're lagging there, Nathan, because you just kind of cut out there for a second. But yeah, continue along in this race. Alfie Butcher now getting up the inside of Nicholas Longate. It's been a fantastic start from the Englishman. He's up 7 places in this Grand Prix, and now he's on to the podium. He's just got one more car to clear, and then he'll be right behind Alvaro Caraton. But of course, Nathan, these soft tyres, they're not going to last forever, and so these guys, they've got to pull out the gap now. They've got to use them to their fullest extent as Danny Moreno gets by on Tom Manley. Lucas Blakely does a nice job of following through, but Manley putting a scrap in towards turn number 1. There you go. There could be 3 wide. Moreno moves over to block the Alpha Tauri. Lucas Blakely's going to capitalise and go up the inside. That's some great team play from the McLarens, but Tom Manley, he's not giving up here. There's contact between the pair of them. Narun Pedreño trying to fight his way through into this fight. DRS enabled for the 3 of them. Moreno now getting eaten up by the pack. Lucas Blakely's going to lose the position potentially to Pedreño, who goes up the inside of the pair of them in towards turn number 4. Tom Manley now off the circuit. Little bit of contact between himself and Josh Izzo. We've got yellow flags. That's his Rampuki potentially around, and we've got the VSC being deployed. And I thought it was Danny Moreno getting swallowed up by the pack, but it was Narun Pedreño with immense pace getting by on Blakely.
Yeah, Ruben went wide, Blake went a little bit with him, and then Isfan went up the inside, and he just lost the rear completely. He's put his foot down in gear 4, spun round, and into. I thought that would have been a safety car, hence why I shake, because I thought his wheel parts. I thought, no, just his front wing. And big shames also, I've noticed what's happened here? A few people dropping back there, and Giano's down to 17th. I believe that was due to him on the hard tyres, I presume. Obviously, I missed the first lap, unfortunately, but chaos on these first couple of laps.
Yeah, it's been very racy between these softs and the hards, and we should be getting back underway very soon. But one key thing to note is that Alvaro Caraton has been able to pull a 1-second gap to Fabrizio Donoso behind him. Alfie Butcher's now got to do his best to maintain that 1-second gap to the rival in front of him, so he can get DRS and Fab. And he was a bit cheeky there. He's just been able to duck under that 1-second window to get the DRS on Caraton if we are to go racing here. Hopefully all the debris has been cleared. Istvan Pukki, he has come into the pit lane, Nathan, and we are back underway here in Brazil.
Yeah, with the DRS enabled now, Alvaro Caraton's going to do all again to get himself outside that 1-second gap too. Fabrizio Donoso, and so was Shinakra and Alfie. They're going to close them a bit because they're starting to get very close to the outside of that 1 second. Danny Moreno sitting right behind Nicholas Longo. Obviously on the soft tyre should be a lot quicker. We should see him probably overtake Nicholas maybe down in towards turn 10 because he's right on the back of the Ferraris ahead or in towards turn 10. Is he close enough this time to make a move? No, he's not, so we'll have to wait until the final couple of corners if he wants to make it. Ishmael Fassi getting up the inside of his teammate there, down in towards turns 10. That's also Jed Norgrove going around the outside of Tom Manley to put himself into that top 11 as they go through, and Tom just letting off. He knows he's not quick enough compared to these guys. And Matthias Van Erven also looking to get a move now. He's on the back of Tom and Tosh now as they head up through in towards turns 13, and that's also a fight for second. That's Alfie getting ahead of Fabrizio as they head down, Matthias Van Erven getting ahead of both of them, or trying to at least, in towards turn 1. He's up the inside of Tomasz Baradzic into turn 1, puts himself ahead. I don't think Baradzic tried to defend that, as also we've got Thomas Ronhar getting himself ahead of Manley, who gets caught and clipped round at turn 2, but he does correct it as they head now down the Reta Raposa in towards turn 4 with the DRS.
Jan Orp is going to capitalise, get by on Tom Manley, potentially try and scrap it out with Otis Lawrence. These two really high regarded drivers, one of them an experienced veteran, one of them a hotshot rookie at the moment, and it is the hotshot himself, Otis Lawrence, getting ahead, keeping his himself ahead of Jarno Opmeer. Tom Manley really is sinking like a stone down this pack. I wonder if there's a little bit of damage on that AlphaTauri that's really hampering his Grand Prix, because he is just slower than everyone else at the minute. And unfortunately, I remember someone predicted him to take the win of this race, but it's looking very unlikely the way things are going at the minute. But it's still a long Grand Prix. We're heading up towards 31 laps to go here. We're only on lap number 5 of 36. But these softs, Nathan, they are going to begin to die out very soon. And I think that is why that Fabrizio Donoso has not really dropped off the back of the two leaders. It's also going to help him out in the fact that they might be fighting heading in towards the first corner. There goes Butcher up the inside. He is now your new race leader after starting P10 in this race.
Yeah, as also Tom Manley there was looking to get a little bit on Sakalek into turn 1, but didn't just get that enough straight line speed to get himself through. But considering he was a bit slower than everyone else, so far now, at least coming out of turn 3, he looked decent through that first part of the track, so he might have just had a bit of loss of confidence after that collision with, I believe it was Lucas Blakely at the start of the race, and obviously he's dropped all the way down since then, and you know, he's starting to pick up his feet a little bit more, I think, at the moment. As we head down into, I believe this is turns 8 and 9. I always get mixed up with turn 8 and turn 10 because they look very similar, especially when you're on board with someone trying to figure out where on track you are. As on board with Donoso, considering he's on these hard tyres, he's holding up quite well to the back of Karaton, and also Shinaka obviously wants to get himself through on Donoso, but just can't get it to work yet. So now the soft tyres have got an advantage still over the hard, but I don't think it's enough now to be groundbreaking and get yourself positions after positions. So yeah, these softs will be fine for how they are now for a while, but they're not going to have that, I don't think, mass advantage.
If you're following in a train like this, you really can save the tyres as much as you really do want. So I'd expect these soft runners to try and extend this stint as long as possible, but late into the pit lane to fit on a set of the mediums, or sorry, the hards maybe, to go to the end of the race. It'd be very interesting to see if we actually get the soft to medium strategy heading in towards the rest of this race. Here comes Danny Moreno at the inside of turn number 4 of Nicolas Longuet, who has been steadily regressing in the pack, unfortunately. But in terms of the tyre strategy, once all these soft runners come into the pit lane, he will be second behind Fabrizio Donoso at the minute. And of course, later on in the Grand Prix, then the advantage will swing the way of Donoso, of Longuet, of Blakely. So these guys really playing the long-term strategy here. But I think, everyone who's been able to get themselves out of that bottom pack and in towards the top 10, just bring up the detail at the minute here. You can see Alfie Butcher up 9 places, Danny Moreno up 8, Joshua Dowu, Matthias Van Erven, they're all up 7 positions. Same goes for Mbadrenyo. These softs have done an absolute wonder for these guys, and they've really made this advantage work.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed looking down, the likes of Otis and Jarno, this has really not worked out the way they wanted it. Or I think surely they should have been able to hold off a couple more positions, but they're not being able to do so with these softs being so good at the start. As also, I believe that is Ronhar looking to get himself ahead of Parajic into turn 1. A bit of a late break there from Ronhar, puts himself up the inside and gets himself ahead. I thought it'd be a bit too far back, nobody sent it either way, but he did have the worst exit compared to Tomasz, and I think Tosh could try and fight back. I don't think he can though. Down into turn 4, but very nice move there from Ronhar. Kind of caught Parajic napping into that corner, as also that's Blakely getting ahead of Pedreño down at turns 4 and 5 there. And I think they're working together, as when Lucas overtook him, he kind of did a bit of a weave to say, let's work together and not worry too much about fighting, as also Donoso getting close to the back of Karaton. So now with these soft tyres coming out of that working window and giving that advantage back to the hards, as if it does, maybe the people outside on the softs, it hasn't worked out. Maybe, for like people such as Alvaro, maybe that hasn't worked. So I think for the likes of Ruben, Josh and that, it could have, but I think for Alvaro it might not have been the right call, because he decided, was it top 3?
Well, yeah, absolutely. As we continue along this one, Alvaro Karaton, he started 3rd at this race, and he might actually be back down into 3rd, because here comes Fabrizio Donoso. They're going to make it 3 wide heading in towards the first corner. Alvaro Karaton gets by on Alfie Butcher. Donoso follows through, and Alfie Butcher down into P3. See what Donoso can do on the back of the vulnerable Karaton. The battery being deployed for Donoso off the exit of the curve at El Sol. Alvaro Karaton really with no defense at the minute. DRS enabled for Fabrizio Donoso, and he's back in the lead of this Grand Prix. The hard tyres definitely are the superior ones at the minute. And he gets on by Alfie Butcher now, heading in towards turn number 5. Ferradura, can he try and find a way back through on Karaton? A little bit of a revenge act, a slight slide through turn number 5 for him there, in through 6 and 7 and 8 now for these guys. Alfie Butcher really hounding the rear of this Williams, but then gets loose himself off the exit of the corner. So these softs not in the best working condition for this point of the race.
Yeah, and that's Nico and Lucas fighting now for P6 as they come through. A bit of a tap down to the side of Nico from Lucas, but nothing too harmful as they head into turn 12. Bit of a move over to the left there, but tucks back in behind us, Lucas Blake, as they head up the hill in towards turn 1 yet again. And this time Lucas doesn't have the speed to kind of match Nico to get himself a move off. But I noticed further down, Brajdic now looking to get himself through Matthias van Erven. Ron Hard did it last lap, so these soft tyres are now starting to become a lot worse. As I think Ron Hard's also getting on Jed Norgrove into turn 1. Matthias defending left, right, nothing Brajdic can do to get himself through as they head down into turns 1 and 2. And obviously now with these low traction zones, this is where it would be best for these hard tyres then to get that advantage over the softs. As you can see from Brajdic now moving to the outside over Matthias van Erven into turn 4 and gets himself up into 13th place.
He gets on by, and I think we really are in the crossover period where the softs are the worst tyre to be on at the minute. The hards, they're definitely going to be phasing into this Grand Prix. We could have a little scrap between two hard runners at the moment though, between Nicholas Longate and Lucas Blakely. Oh dear, what's happened there?
Bit of contact between Otis and Matthias. Otis went nearly sideways going through there.
It seems like they've both been able to hold on to the position. Otis Lawrence gets on by on Matthias van Erven. Now Jan Ortmeier is going to be the next one to try and get on by his fellow countrymen, as we've got a fantastic shot of the left-hander very fast through there, and certainly those softs are going to be feeling the wear at the minute, as now on lap number 10 of 36 in this Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher still trying to get onto the back of Alvaro Caraton. Alvaro Caraton though trying to get onto the back of Fabricio Donoso as they head in towards turn number 1. It just seems like nothing's giving at the minute. No one's able to make a move at this point of the race, and I really am getting sick of these onboard shots when I don't want to go on board with the car. So Cody sorts it out, as you can see from Alvaro Caraton's point of view. Alfie Butcher following in behind, getting close to the rear diffuser of the Williams, but not close enough.
Yeah, and I'm just on board with Thomas Ronhart, Prajdic, Otis and Jana, who are now working their way through the field very easily. They've all got themselves ahead of Matthias van Erven. Now Thomas right on the back of Jed Norgrove as they come through in towards turn 8 now. So surely these hard runners will be getting themselves through. The soft tyres need to pitch, surely, don't they, onto a set of hards. I don't think mediums have cut it to the end. I think that'd be too long, but I think the hards could make it to the end from this point. But I think for now, some of them might stay out, the likes of Val, Varro and Alfie. If they can hold on to the back of DRS, they can stay out. But some of them, like Matthias, might as well pick now because he's dropping his way through the field. He just can't cling on to that DRS, and he can't keep himself to the cars ahead as we now head up out of turns 12 and 13. And do we see Ron Hart get himself a move on Jed Norgrove as they head down to turn 1? I just don't think he's close enough this time as they head down. He's not, and the battle for lead getting closer again. I thought that Alvaro was going to send it on for a bit, but he sits back, so obviously wanted to just stick behind in this train of DRS. And also noticed Danny Moreno getting very close to the back of Shanaka Clay into turn 1, and we'll see. Is he close enough to make a move into turn 4? I don't think he is. No, he's not. He's going to have to sit behind at this occasion. But I think many of these now in that top 5 will just sit behind each other. I don't think they're going to be too aggressive, because you'll just start to lose time for being aggressive, and people will just, slip their way through if you're, fighting really hard.
I'm just thinking at the minute, like, Alvaro Caraton, Alfie Butcher, Shanaka Clay, they're not getting dropped by Donoso by any means, and I think that is the DRS down the main straight and down the Retroposta that's allowing them to keep with Donoso despite having the much worse tyres at this point. And they've not got any pressure really from Longay and Blakely behind, who are also trying to take their tyres as long as possible. So I don't see a reason really for these soft runners to have to come into the pit lane as soon, all that soon. They just have to do it before the puncture territory gets real. And I know that last time out, I think Jarno Opmeer had a puncture, not even that much wear, without even that much wear on his tyres, and so it is a real threat on this game as Caraton gets close to the back of Donoso. Ishmael Fassi is able to overtake Josh Idowu. Seems like Jed Norgrove being dropped from this top 10 pack ever so slightly. That could invite Thomas Ronhar potentially go for a move, but this DRS train really just keeping everyone tight-knit together, and it makes it very difficult for a battle to take place.
Yes. Sahalek now looking to get himself through on Matthias van Erven into turn 4. He's got the inside line, he's got the better tyres at this point, and pops himself up into 16th place, and now it'll allow Ikebaini to also gain. But Matthias has actually got a good run coming out of turn 5. Could be looking for it into the outside of Ferro Givino, lets off, so he doesn't bother trying to overtake round there because Sahalek defended that very nicely as they head now in towards turn 8, and Ikebaini and Tom Manley following close behind to get themselves ahead of Matthias van Erven as well, and obviously Istvan Pukki obviously had that incident down at turn 4, I think it was lap 3 or lap 4, so he's seen 24 seconds back on a set of mediums. He'll have to pit again, obviously. if a safety car comes out, that could help him. If not, I think this is pretty much Istvan Puka's race ruined. Because obviously everyone's got pretty much a pit stop advantage over him by a mile. So it's a big shame for Istvan. He was looking to be on for some great points with his pace, but obviously this time it's not enough. There's Danny Moreno fighting with that's Shinaka Clay into the pits. And that's also Alvaro Caraton ahead of Fabrizio Donoso into turn one. So yeah, everything going on now. Shinaka and Ishmael into the pits onto, I presume, a set of hard. So yeah, it could be interesting, couldn't it, with the pit stop starting to happen.
Early stop for the soft runners. Alvaro Caraton immediately going to be re-overtaken by Fabrizio Donoso, who gets by in towards turn number 4. Fabrizio having none of that one there, and he's able to re-overtake the Williams. But yeah, medium tyres, interesting enough. Going on to Shinaka Clay and Ismail Faxi's car, and I'm wondering, they've been able to do 14 laps on the softs. They're lighter on fuel at the minute. It's still a long way to go in this race. I'm wondering, can those mediums go to the end? I'm sure these guys, they know a lot more about the game than you and I and everyone watching in the live chat, so possibly those mediums are going to be good enough to go to the end of this Grand Prix. Istvan Pukki, he'll definitely have to pit again. He's already been on this set for 10 laps in this Grand Prix. But Shinaka Clay and Ismail Faxi, a very interesting strategy, and we know how powerful the undercut is around this circuit as well, so I'm wondering if that's going to trigger the likes of Caraton, Butcher and Moreno to come into the pit lane. Caraton seizes the opportunity. He'll be coming to the pit lane, as is his fellow countryman, Danny Moreno, as is his fellow countryman. Rim Petragno, as I was just about to mention him there. 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is a rookie error from him. Jed Norgrove and Matthijs Van Urban also going to be pitting. And Nathan, they're all to set of mediums.
Yeah, I think, well, it seems mediums on the way to go. But I think, to be fair, this is actually a very good situation for Donoso, Nico and Lucas. Obviously, saying to these hard tyres, it's worked well for them. Obviously, everyone on the mediums will pit. Yes, they'll start to work their way through with the better tyres. But when it gets to the end, obviously with the undercut, their tyres might be a little bit worse. So it's a bit of it's a hard one to judge at the moment. Yes, when Nico and Lucas pit, they'll come out probably behind because of the undercut. But at the end, obviously Shinaka and Alvaro, their tyres might not work out as well, so they could start to drop back. So I think at the moment, yeah, it's a bit of, I think it's more of a choice of what you prefer to do. Do you prefer to defend or prefer to attack?
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see, Shinaka Clay has been able to undercut his teammate and get ahead of Alvaro Caraton. So now at this point, Shinaka Clay, once everyone pits, he's essentially going to be the race leader. Alfie Butcher into the pit lane, as is Joshua Doe. They are the last of the soft runners. That unleashes Fabrizio Donoso, Nicholas Longue and Lucas Blakely now as your top 3. Thomas Ronhart in 4th, 5th is Paragic, and then it is Lawrence, Opmis, Tahalet, then Manley, and then you've got all the guys who have pitted. Ikabayane also, interestingly enough, with 15 lap old hard tyres is coming into the pit lane. He'll also strap on a set of the softs, so I'm wondering what the strategy is there, because those hards definitely could go a lot longer in this race, but he's essentially just sort of handicapped himself there.
Yeah, I think I want to try that undercut because it can work. We've seen evidently it does work, as you can see there with Shinaka coming out ahead of obviously Alvaro, Danny, and now obviously Alfie and Josh. This undercut definitely works, but it's a fact of how much you can defend in the final stages. If you know you can defend heavily, then go for it. It will work out. But if you can't defend, and that's an issue you have, you're going to be in such a compromising situation when it comes to the end of the race, when these people behind are just going to be quicker. Obviously, you can see evidently with Shinaka and Alvaro. Alvaro pitted 1 lap later. He lost that advantage because of Shinaka pitting early with the... Well, first of all, the undercut works. Second of all, he's got them warmer tyres, which really helps us. Looking to the top, Matthijs Van Over gets a penalty as Lucas Blake looking to pose a move onto the back of Nicolas Longue into turn 1. Can he get himself ahead? I don't think he can. No, he lets off at this point. So these hard runners, I think we'll either see them go for another few laps before pitting to mediums, or maybe they pit around lap 23, 24 and go to a set of softs. It's possible. Maybe you could try if you've got nothing to lose. There's also, that's the 2 provisional leads swapping. That's Alvaro and Shinaka into turn 1.
Very nice, very tidy between these guys. They're always sort of at the top of the pack together. That allows for them to sort of work together in these trains, especially if they're leading. It is very nice to see they are able to sort of control the pace. I do apologise for the slight audio glitches. I'm just going to see if pausing the game and then unpausing works. I think it's just something I'm going to have to put up with. I'm not too sure why it does this always when I'm commentating, but nevertheless, we'll continue along this race. We're approaching the halfway point of this Grand Prix. It's certainly not gone by all that fast. It's definitely been a bit of a slugfest. I think Fabrizio Donoso sort of did his best to just control the pace at something he's comfortable with, and then everyone else was able to follow in behind and not really want to take too much out of their tyres. and so they remain just sitting in behind. We'll see. Lucas Blakely goes for the move, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to make an opportunity stick. What about Otis Lawrence on the back of Paragis heading in towards turn number 1? Certainly he's going to look up the inside of the first part of the center S's. Nice tidy move for Otis Lawrence. He's now into P5.
Yeah, I noticed Jarno Upman's also got a good run coming out of turns 3 at the moment. Jarno is kind of had a bit of a dull race in the sense of he's not really done much overtaking or defending, as he's kind of slotted himself out of the first couple laps into, I think it was P16 at the time. And obviously with all these people ahead pitting, he's just slotted himself where he's just stayed there and just pulled himself along. So Jarno was having a pretty decent race, just, you know, sitting behind everyone else, letting them all battle as he just, you know, cruises behind us. We're heading now towards turns 8 yet again with Prashish right on the back of Otis Lawrence, but Otis had a great run because Ronhar, evidently outside the 1 second gap to suit Lucas Blakely. This is very good for Otis because if he can get himself a bit of DRS going down into turn 1, he can put himself probably with that advantage maybe to a second of Lucas if possible, and then he gives himself that DRS along with also being ahead of Ronhar, who, to be fair, hasn't had that great pace that I've noticed. You know, throw it qualified and throw it here. You know, from what we've seen on the previous game and the start of this game, he just hasn't had that ultimate pace we normally see from Thomas Ronhar, which is a bit of a surprise. There's been a head down with the DRS for Otis Lawrence, and as actually Thomas Ronhar pits, so he's got the DRS, he gains to a second. Is Nicholas going to go for a move? No, he sits back completely from it, so literally lifts off completely into turn 1. Jarno Upman looking to gain on the back of Otis Lawrence. Otis has now got no DRS on the back of Lucas. This isn't good for him, as it could allow Jarno to get a move, and also Tom Manley sitting 5 seconds back. He's going to be trying to make a move as now we've got people on these mediums all slotting themselves up into different positions as Ronhar and Parajic come out near the bottom of the field.
Yeah, and they're going to be a lot quicker than these guys on a set of the heart of the mediums that have been run for sort of 3-4 laps at this point. Of course, they're going to have that disadvantage in the fact that they've been undercut and now there's a big gap between them and everyone else. However, they're going to have the pace to close up to the rear. We'll see what happens between Van Erven and Ronhar. Of course, 2 teammates at Alfa Romeo. I don't expect a huge fight to be put up by Matt Tyson. Certainly Ronhar is going to have the better pace. We'll just wait and see then when Fabrizio Donoso, Nicholas Longe, Lucas Blakely, they all opt to come into the pit lane. Alfie Butcher, he gets by on Ismail Fassi. I've seen him last time by as well make a move on Rune Pedreño in a very difficult part of the circuit. I definitely think he has got the pace to be potentially winning this Grand Prix. Now Otis Lawrence is going to peel off into the pit lane to begin lap number 20.
Yeah, notice Alvaro Carreton, he's just 10 seconds behind the lead, so at the moment this is going really great for the Williams team of Alvaro and Shanaka, who, you know, if they can defend well in this final scene, they're easily going to be going for themselves at least a podium, you know, maybe a win for them as well, if they can hold on to it. As we go down to turn 4, that is Fabrizio Donoso looking to get himself ahead of Nicholas Longe. Can't do so just yet. As we head through this middle, well, the start of this middle set now in towards turn 6 and 7 at Ferradura. Lucas Blakey tucking in nicely as well, and Tom Manley seems to lose lots of time on the back of these top 4, which isn't ideal for him at all. And Varo Caraton now gaining very quickly onto the back of him, so could obviously for Avo get himself a bit of DRS going into the start of lap 21 out of 36 as we head down into turn 8. And yeah, Manley's got hardly any pace at all, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. But yeah, he's just losing so much time on the back of Alvaro. Yeah, Alvaro's gained 5 tenths in that middle sector alone, just 3 or 4 corners. As we're going to head out of turns 10 in towards turn 11, this sweeping left-hander. We could see a move possibly from Alvaro and Shanaka into turn 1 as we head through. And obviously the good thing for the Williams team is now they've made their pit stops. Alvaro and Shanaka can work together in obviously probably in a voice channel just to pull themselves along and just keep themselves out of any harm from people ahead or behind now. Alvaro pulls to the inside of Tom Manley, and Shanaka, can he make something work? I don't think he can, but Alvaro Carasol gets himself up into P4, so Fabrizio Donoso heads into the pits. He'll come out a little bit far back, isn't he? He's only just left the pit box, and I think he's going to come out behind possibly Tomasz Parajic and Otis Lawrence.
He definitely has been undercut. It's so powerful around the circuit. It's very interesting to see that Tom Manley didn't decide to pit, given that he is really just going to be hampered by the fact that everyone in behind is going to be scrapping it out with him, as Lucas Blakely, who saw that off camera, was able to get by on Nicholas Longe. It's definitely time to pit at this point in the Grand Prix for Fabrizio Donoso, now going from first down into 18th position in this Grand Prix. Is absolutely insane, the difference that the undercut makes around here. However, if they can catch them, the guys who pit later are going to have much superior pace, and I'm wondering if Tom Manley holding up this train sort of is going to cause some issues for them.
He definitely will, because I think, you know, I don't think he's really moving out the way for him. I think he's just holding them all up as Lucas Blakely heads into the pit lane now. after only 2 drivers left, well 3 on those hards, it will be Nico, Yano and Tom Manley now with Shinaka Clay with the DRS, with the better pace to the outside of Tom Manley towards turn 1, puts himself ahead, but actually Manley sends it, make a bit of contact into turn 1, heavy contact between the two, and now a bit more contact between Shinaka there, just putting Tom Manley out the way. And now everyone's just going to come flying through. We've got Ruben Pedranio looking to get himself ahead. With also, everyone's coming together now. We go into turn 4. Alfie Butcher in a fight. That's Moreno fight with Shinaka Clay into turn 4. There's someone round, I think, as we still go through. Alfie Butcher out. Ahead of Ruben Pedranio, who's going to fight back into Ferrojura in the inside. That was also Shinaka Clay letting off on the back of Danny Moreno. And now a bit of contact between Alfie. Alfie's going to go for it around the outside of Shinaka. That's Ruben up the inside of Alfie as well as we head round into turn 8 now. Everyone all coming together as we head through to this bit, kind of crazy part of the race. With obviously Tom Manley causing all of this.
And this is really going to help the likes of Thomas Ronha, Otis Lawrence, Fabrizio Donoso, who are now going to be dragged into this fight. And they're actually not that far off of the rear of the likes of Josh Adowu, who's been dropped a little bit by the pack. He's been caught up, unfortunately, by Thomas Ronha in behind. And he's going to have 3 lap fresher medium tyres strapped onto his Alfa Romeo, and he'll be able to scrap it out as best as he can. And this is shaping up now, Nathan, to be a fantastic end to this race. As now the fastest lap's going to come piling in. I think Otis just took it, then Fabrizio snatched it right back. Here's Alfie Butcher on the back of Shinaka Clay, who is blinking at the back of his Williams. That means he is sub 10% in his ERS levels. He's going to have 50% deployment, sort of reduced power in that Williams. So definitely going to be time now for him to just settle into this race again on that set of the mediums and try and recuperate as much battery as possible. But Alfie Butcher not taking that one lying down. He's going to look up the inside in towards Larangina. Can he make that move stick? We have the outside line for Pinarino. We've seen Butcher be really sort of finicky around this part of the track, and now he's got a 3-second time penalty for being forced out wide. That definitely is one for the stewards to look at. Still in towards Bica de Pato, and off the exit in towards this long-winded left-hander contact between the pair of them. Shinaka Clay, a fantastic save from him. Oh my gosh, that was so close to heartbreak and a Williams in the wall, but somehow, some way, he's held on to that car. Alfie Butcher, I wouldn't say there was any sort of intent there, but just a little bit of contact between racers. Really well done by the pair of them, I'd say.
Yeah, and Jake Norgrove now go for a move with Ismail faster because Ishmael got tapped by Shinaka because Shinaka rejoined a little bit unsafely there. So that could also be another talk for the stewards room as well as we head out now of turn 3 along the Retro Apostle. We've also got Fabrizio Donoso on the back of Thomas Ronhard. Obviously Thomas pitted a lot earlier than Fabrizio, so his tyres will be a bit worse now, and it will be Fabrizio to the inside ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and also Lotus Lawrence could be looking to get a bit closer as well. Thomas Ronhard trying to defend, can't do anything much at all, obviously with those older medium tyres. As now Otis Lawrence looking to pose himself a move. He's getting right to the back of Thomas Ronhard, and there's battles everywhere on the grid now. Alfie Butcher right on the back of Danny Moreno. Now got a bit of a glitch with my audio, which isn't ideal, but we deal with it. We're going to head through out of turns 18 towards turn 10 with Shinaka Clay also looking to get a move on Ruben Pedranio. So now all these battles coming through just because of these people on different, well, on the same tyre, but all with different, ages of tyre.
It really is making for a fantastic race because these guys are having to manage the grip as best they can, and some guys are able to do that a lot easier. The likes of Donoso, Ronhard, Lawrence, they've been able to close up to now this one massive train. The fight basically for the lead as now Alfie Butcher gets on by as he gets ahead of Danny Moreno. In all of that, Alvaro Carreton stretches advantage to 2.2 seconds. He saw his opportunity to run away with this race, and he's taken that with 2 hands, and he's just trotted up the road. Now it's going to be a big challenge for these guys to catch back up. The 2 Red Bulls looking to do battles. They head in towards turn number 4. That is Josh Adowu trying to go around the outside of Jed Norgrove, but he's got Fabrizio Donoso down his inside, and that is the difference between 5 lap fresher tyres for Donoso. He's able to get by on both of the Red Bulls, and now he's up to P7. Can he try and get by on Ismail Fassi? We'll have to wait and see.
With the contact there with the Red Bulls, Josh just spoke a little bit too late, hit the back of Jed Norgrove, but these two nearly made a bit of contact at the exit of turn 3 as well as we head through, and that's also Otis Lawrence. I think there was a bit of a punt to the back of Josh as well, as I noticed him slowed over, and then right behind was Otis Lawrence and Thomas Ronhard now as we come through in towards turn 12 at John Save. Can Thomas send up the inside? No, he can't. He sits behind. Bit of contact again, but nothing too harmful as we head out of turn 12 now, and also Donoso on the back of Ismail Fassi. He's got the outside line, he's got the DRS. Can he get himself ahead in towards that P6 position as also Ishmael's getting on the back of Shanaka Clay. So this could be another interesting one. Has also got Otis Lawrence getting through and Jed Norgrove, but into turn 1. Fabrizio Donoso up the inside. Can he put himself ahead as Ishmael has the inside line? That's Tom on the out in the pit lane. And a bit of contact there between Ishmael and Fabrizio as they head out of turn 3. They've got the DRS. And I think for now, Fabrizio's just about caught that position as Lucas Blakely ahead of Thomas Ronhaar into turn 4. And there you can see the difference between these old mediums and the new mediums.
Yeah, now Lucas Blakely, I'd say, is going to be one of the faster drivers along this circuit because he's been able to get by on Thomas Ronhaar. He was one of the hard runners like Lucas earlier on in this race, but pitting just a few laps later has really helped him out here. There goes Lucas Blakely up the inside of Jed Norgrove in towards turn number 7, I believe that is. He'll be able to get on by around the outside of Pinarino and in towards Bico de Pato. He's made that move stick. Thomas Ronhaar also tried to stick a nose in, wasn't quite able to make the move. Now Otis Lawrence gets by on Ishmael Fassi, and we are just waiting for this fight to be taken to the lead of the Grand Prix. You know, Fabrizio Donoso, he's knocking on the door of the top 5 because off the exit of Yun Sao he's going to have a much better run than Shanaka Clay. He's got 7 lap fresher medium tyres strapped onto his Aston Martin. He's going to be able to cruise on by without any issue whatsoever. Shanaka Clay not really able to hold that one there as Alfie Butcher's lost 2 places in this. Look at the fight for P2 as Rune Pedreño is able to get by on both Danny Moreno and Alfie Butcher through turn number 1 and 2 and in towards now the Curva del Sol. Will they be able to scrap this one out heading in towards turn number 4? Danny Moreno looking up the inside of his fellow countryman in towards the braking zone. They go, and Moreno will be able to make it a Spanish 1, 2, 3 heading into this second, in towards this final portion of the race. But the Englishman now, Alfie Butcher, trying to send the move into this one. Fabrizio Donoso, he arrives on the scene and gets on by in towards turn number 6 at Ferradura. Looking now up the inside of the Haas, who breaks later into Pinarino. They go. This is absolutely fantastic racing in towards now the second sector. Otis Lawrence also looking to get his nose in here. He'll get by on Alfie Butcher, who's going to be able to sink through the field. Donoso into 4th, Lawrence into 5th. These guys having a field day with their fresh mediums.
Yeah, and Blake there, go from around the outside of John Say on Alfie Butcher, but just couldn't get it to work that time. But now, Donoso's right in the back of Pedreño, who's also very close to Moreno. And there we are, Fabrizio ahead before the DRS now. We head down to turn 1. Can he get himself ahead of Danny Moreno, put himself into P2? I think he will. Up the inside into P2, then also a bit of contact between Danny and Ruben as they head into turn 1. And then Otis lifting off a little bit into that corner, and also Lucas Blakely on the scene as well, trying to get through on Otis Lawrence. Not close enough, but he's going to have that nice advantage down the straight to turn 4 using the ERS. Can he get himself ahead of Otis Lawrence? I think he can. Up the inside into turns 4 and 5. Lucas Blake now into the top 5, technically top 4 because of Ruben's penalty, but easily he should get himself through on Ruben anyway because of these newer medium tyres. We've got an incident. That's someone off. That Shanaka Clay's gone off then at turn 5. That's not good at all. He's spun again. So this is not good at all for Shanaka Clay. What's happened here? It seems like he just threw it all away.
Unfortunate for Shanaka Clay there. He's going to be out of this race. Jed Norgrove and Ishmael Fassi scrapping it out. Here's Lucas Blakely getting by on Rune Pedreño. The reason that Otis Lawrence was so slow through Curva del Sol is because he actually got tapped at some point in the first corner. I don't know who it was that gave him the bump, as now Otis Lawrence really forcing his way by through Jun Sao on Rune Pedreño. Really not much fighting could have been done there, because now Lucas Blakely on the back of his teammate Danny Moreno. Rune Pedreño trying to get this one back. He's not happy with the treatment that Otis Lawrence has given him, and he's been able to send it back up the inside. But Otis Lawrence in towards turn number 1. He has a look up the inside. He'll have the grip off the exit of the center S's and in towards Curva del Sol. He'll have the DRS as well. Rune Pedreño beginning to get dropped by the guys in front of him, as here they go now down the Retropost. These terrible camera angles still plaguing us in this race, as Lucas Blakely is able to get on by on his teammate Danny Moreno. It's now him and Donoso tracking down Alvaro Caraton. Rune Pedreño and Alfie Butcher still scrapping it up in towards turn number 4 at Pinarino, as Otis Lawrence, he lost out to the Englishman there, and now everything's sort of starting to mesh together. These tyres not going to have too much difference in pace, as now again more contact between Rune Pedreño and Otis Lawrence. That allows for Thomas Ronhaar to sneak up the inside of Pinarino, and he'll be able to try and go now up the inside for P6 into Bico de Pato off the outside line for this next left-hander. Can he make the move stick? I think Otis Lawrence just about going to stay ahead.
Yeah, and now you got to up me up into the top 10, get yourself ahead of Jed Norgrove, whose tyres are now really starting to die off, as he's just losing so much pace. Now Nicolas Longa looking to get himself ahead of Ruben Pedreño with the DRS, of course, now down in towards turn 1, and I think Ruben just let Nico through because he knows for a fact he's not going to be quicker. There's also Ronhaar looking to get through, and now Lucas Blakely ahead of Fabrizio Donoso. This is such good Such a good situation for Lucas Blakely at the moment to get himself up into second. They're gaining very quickly on the back of Alvaro Caraton. Remember, the gap about 3 or 4 laps ago was 2.5 seconds. It's now 1.4. So Lucas Blakely and Donoso in such a good position to put themselves into P1s and P2 as well. There's now Otis Lawrence being forced off by Nicolas Longue out of turns 4, and this is really falling apart for Otis Lawrence. He's got so much pace, but he's being forced off left, right and centre. Is that trip, which is the way he's been battling, or is it just the fact he's getting so much unluckiness on these tyres as they go through now, down in towards turns 8 and 9, and Jed Norgrove on the back of Ruben Pedreño, but can't seem to make anything work. But Jarno Opmeer looking to get himself through the field as well, as he sends it. No, he doesn't. He sits back from Otis. Otis goes deep and he hits the back of Nicolas Longue. Now outside line for Jarno Opmeer around the outside of turn 11. Can he get himself through? No, he can't. Does he send it into turn 12? No, he sits back, so we'll go for it down to turn 1 with that DRS.
Yeah, Jarno Opmeer, last time I checked on him, he was down in 17th, and he just spawned in the top 10, now challenging onto the back of Otis Lawrence. Nicolas Longue further up the road on the back of Thomas Ronhard. We know the history that these two have had together, fighting it out in WOR. Longue is able to go up the inside. Jarno Opmeer has to go the long way round in towards turn number 1 and have the inside line for turn number 2. Gets on by on Otis Lawrence. He'll use the grip of the fresher medium tyres off the exit of Curva del Sol. Can Otis Lawrence try and find this one back in towards the corner? They go. He'll have to look up the inside. Gonna switch it towards the outside line. Yellow flags in sector 1 and 2. I don't know what's happened there. We are back green here in Brazil. Still though, Jarno Opmeer able to get by on Otis Lawrence. A very nice, well worked move from him. But I'm looking now, Nathan, at the front of the order. Lucas Blakely right behind Alvaro Caraton.
Yeah, and I think also Eki Barnes had an instance as well, as he slowed down especially down at the exit of turn 5. But yet Lucas Blakely, the question is, does he want to get through on Alvaro now, or does he want to sit back? That's a question, because yes, he could get through on Alvaro, but then if Alvaro can use that DRS to just pull him along, it might not work well for Lucas. So it's going to be interesting what he decides to do now in this stage of the race. There's also Jarno on the back of Thomas Ronhard trying to get himself up in towards P7. We know obviously between these two they don't have the best friendship at all, so we hope this doesn't get too spicy as we head now with the DRS for Jarno Opmeer on the outside of Ronhard. Obviously 5 lap older tyres for Ronhard, and also that's Nicolas Longue getting himself ahead of Alfie Butcher as Ronhard sends up the inside of Alfie Butcher as well to put himself up into P6.
Watch
and there Jarno's going to try.
Lucas
looking for the move into turn 4.
Lucas Blakely on the back of Alvaro Caraton. This could be for the win of the race. In towards turn number 4 they go. Easy enough up the inside of Caraton. Lucas Blakely stamps his authority once again here in WOR. Gets by an Alvaro Caraton. Really had no defence on his medium tyres. Fabrizio Donoso now looking for a way through on the back of the Williams. Will he send up the inside in towards this next right? Not quite though, but Lucas Blakely leading this race.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, Dan, as we go through to turn 8 there with Jarno still trying to get himself ahead of Ronhard, and also Ronhard trying to get himself ahead of Nicolas Longue, who's very close to being outside that 1 second gap to the top 4, which is not what he wants at all in this stage of the race as we head through. But Danny Moreno doing such a good job along with Caraton on 17 lap old mediums. They're holding up quite well to these newer medium runners, as now we have Fabrizio Donoso with a better run out of turn 12 up to the inside of Alvaro Caraton as they head through out of turns 13 and 14. He's got himself into the P2 position, but now Moreno also looking to try and defend from Nicolas Longue, as well as now we've got Ronhard and Opmeer fighting into turn 1. He's got the outside line for Opmeer. Ronhard up the inside. These two very close to contact as they head through to turn 2 now. And Jarno not with that ideal line through turn 2, but he has got that better line coming out at turn 3. He's got the DRS, he's got the better tyre. Surely it should be an easy move for Jarno Opmeer as they head down into turn 4 now with the inside for Ronhard. Can Opmeer get himself on the outside? No, he can't. Ronhard defended like a lion so far as we head through out of turn 5 now in towards Ferragina and Darangina at turn 6 and 7. I don't think they can get themselves through. No, Ronhard and Jarno, still stuck behind the back of the fellow Dutchman as they head down into turn 8, and still no way through for Jarno Opmeer.
Yeah, and Jarno Opmeer really going to be annoyed at Thomas Ronhard here, because now with all that battling, Nicolas Longue has been able to actually get ahead by 1 second on Thomas Ronhard, and so essentially a rift has been formed between the top 5 and the rest of the pack. And I'm wondering, Thomas Ronhard seems to be defending a little bit more aggressively than on Jarno Opmeer than anyone else so far this race. I think that is just given between a little bit of bad blood that they've had in the past. Will it be this time that Opmeer makes the move? Thomas Ronhard without DRS heading in towards turn number 1 they go. Meanwhile towards the front of the order, Fabrizio Donoso having a look in towards the first corner, not going to be able to make the move stick. Jarno Opmeer will go up the inside and finally get the move on Thomas Ronhard. Danny Moreno also losing a position. Nicolas Longue has been able to get on by heading off the exit of Curva del Sol and in towards turn before they go. This top 5 going to be cruising away from the rest of the pack. But Jarno Opmeer, he's going to be annoyed, he'll be angry, and he's going to be hungry for positions.
Yeah, it was Ronhard went for a move then to turn 4, but Jarno moved himself to the middle of the track. Nothing Ronhard could do to get past as we head up towards turns 6 and 7 yet again. And now Moreno looking to get himself through on Nico, and considering these tyres are a lot newer for Nicolas Longue, he doesn't seem to have much of an advantage, which is a shame for him. He would have liked to have much more of an advantage over Danny Moreno as they now head up in towards turns 10. Nico looking for a move on Alvaro, can't get himself through just yet, but he'll have to get it possibly down into turn 1. I think that's his best opportunity so far for him to get himself onto that podium position. Obviously he'd like a podium, definitely love a podium, as we now head through out to turn 12, John South, through in towards turns 13, 14 and 15, the final couple of corners. And now it should be a move for Nicolas Longue to get himself onto that final spot on the podium. Alvaro wants it, Nico wants it a lot as well. So these two could get very, very spicy as we head into turn 1. And Nico always sends for the moving to the inside on Alvaro Carton. Can Alvaro defend? Yes, he can. As we now go through to the walls of the Curve de Sol, nearly a little bit wide there for Nicolas Longue as we head now with the DRS, and still no way through for Nicolas Longue, and that just shows how easy it is to defend on this track with it being quite thin and also quite fast. There's nothing that Nico can do to get himself ahead of Alvaro Carton.
Yeah, following in the DRS train, it's just so difficult to make a move there, and Nicolas Longue is going to be annoyed that Alvaro Carton has been able to put up such a good fight, because Donoso and Blakely, they are beginning to slip away ever so slightly up the road. You're going to send it in towards Larangino up the inside of Alvaro Carton. Caught me off guard, definitely caught Alvaro Carton off guard, because now he is able to make that move stick around the outside and in towards Bico de Pato. He'll have that move done, and Nicolas Longue into the top 3 now. A fantastic showing from Nicolas Longue. That is going to allow for him to try and close to the rear of Blakely and Donoso. I do apologise for the audio glitch going on. I'm going to try and pause it, see if it fixes it ever so slightly. But now, heading on to the final lap of this Grand Prix, here comes Donoso on the rear of Lucas Blakely, and we'll see what he can do. 0.5 of a second is the gap. That is going to be closing rapidly as they get in towards turn number 1. Donoso now onto the back of Blakely. This could be his final opportunity to take victory around this circuit, but there's been a bad exit for the Chilean Aston Martin driver. Nevertheless, he'll have the DRS and go for the move in towards turn number 4. Lucas Blakely defending hard to the inside line. Little bit of contact between the pair of them, but Fabrizio Donoso able to make that move stick. He'll be in the lead of this race. Lucas Blakely going to fight this one back, heading up towards Ferradura. Can he make it in towards the corner? They go. It doesn't look like it. Fabrizio Donoso, the pole sitter for this Grand Prix, he's been able to fend off Lucas Blakely. He made the move stick, and he was able to get on by, and it's just half a lap now that he has to defend.
Yeah, Nishmal Fassi also with a 3-second time penalty now, but we're coming to the closing stages of the race, and maybe this could work out for Lucas Blakely. He'll have the DRS going up towards turn 1 and the slipstream as they come out of turn 12, so maybe this isn't over. It could be Lucas Blakely still trying to get it as we head down in towards turn 12, and this is a battle to line between Lucas Blakely and Fabrizio Donoso. There's more battery in the tank for Lucas Blakely. There's DRS as well to aid him, and the slipstream down to turn 1. Who will get this win as we come through up to the line? It's going to be close, and I think it will. It will be Lucas Blakely who wins here in Brazil, with Fabrizio Donoso in second and Nicolas Longue in third. But what an ending there, Dan, like we saw in PSG on Thursday, up to the line between these two, and yet again the person who was second into John Seu made it work at the line.
That is incredible. Lucas Blakely catching Fabrizio Donoso at the final death of it all, and wins by 0.08 of a second ahead of the Chilean. That's 2 wins now this season for Lucas Blakely. He's 2 for 2. He's only been in Austria and Brazil, and now he has he's taken victory in both of them. Really well done. Nicolas Longue was able to get onto the podium, and I might be right in saying I might have got the podium right. I didn't get the win right. I said Nico was going to take victory in this race, but I might be right in thinking that I actually got my prediction right.
You was. I said Fabrizio, Lucas and Jarno. You said Fabrizio, Lucas and Nicola. So yeah, well done, Dan. You've got a couple of things right. You had it correct at the start with the wet qualifying. Now with the podium predictions.
I should make some bets tonight. Yeah, unfortunately Wimbledon's finished, so I can't be betting on that, unfortunately. But yeah, well, I'll find something to satisfy my craving. But yeah, at the end of that one, that was a fantastic end right towards the line, and we'll see Lucas Blakely celebrating on top of the podium. And I know that we'll have him in for an interview. I know that he loves to come in here and have a chat with us. But yeah, fantastic showing from Lucas Blakely to stand atop the podium of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And Fabrizio Donoso, making his debut this season, was able to finish in P2. And Nicolas Longue in P3, a really well worked finish from them. They'll be spraying the champagne and we'll get the classification on your screen. Pending any stewards' inquiries, here is your finishing order. Lucas Blakely takes victory this Grand Prix ahead of Fabrizio Donoso in P2. Nicolas Longue in third, and Alvaro Caraton doing really well to hold his mediums to the end in P4. Danny Moreno in fifth, and Jan Ortmir is able to get on up to 6th position ahead of Otis Lawrence in 7th. Thomas Ronhart finishes in 8th, 9th for Josh Idowu, and then rounding out the top 10 is Jed Norgrove, getting points on debut here this season for him, so really well done, Jed. Then Alfie Butcher just outside the top 10 with a 3-second time penalty. The same goes for Pedreño in 12th, Fassi in 13th and 14th for Van Erven, 15th to this Van Pookie. He was kind of nowhere the entire Grand Prix. Something happened to Tomek Paradzic. He was in 16th, and I think Shanaka Clay at some point, he retired towards the end of the Grand Prix. And then your classified DNFs this Grand Prix is Piotr Stahelek, then Ikabaina and Tom Manley to finish us off. Again, WOR PC Tier 1, Nathan, they're continuing to deliver.
Yeah, it's great, and we're seeing constantly, I believe, different people on the podiums, mode races, which is a great thing for the championship. It's a great thing for the competitiveness, especially obviously going into esports whenever it happens. I think so far, from what we've seen in league racing, this is looking to be a really good esports season. I think we've obviously PSG and WOR, all the time we've seen new people on the podiums, which is such a great thing to see. And also, I think another person I want to speak about is Danny Moreno. He started behind Otis and Yano. We said that maybe those could go for a top 5. Danny finished ahead of both of them, so hats off to Danny Moreno there for that performance, 13th to 5th.
It was a fantastic showing from Moreno, and I would love to have him on the podium so we could talk to him in the interview room. I'm just going to check the Discord now, see if there's anyone in there waiting for a chat. We've got Fab in there, so I will bring, just momentarily, I'll bring him into the Discord. I'll bring us new interview screens. We've now got Natalie Pinkham on them as opposed to Will Buxton, and we'll bring Fab into the Discord. Fabrizio, can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Hello. So first off, really well done for your performance this evening. Let's talk about your qualifying though. On pole position, how are you feeling after that one?
Obviously pole position, the first on the game in league racing. Yeah, so happy to take it finally. Came close to it on Wednesday, PSGL. I slightly improved the lap, but I didn't beat Barry's time. So there's still more to do. But happy with the pole and happy with the P2 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then heading into the race, we saw sort of a split in the strategies. You either started on the hards or you started on the softs. What compelled you to start on the hards, I believe it was?
Starting at the front, you always have the option. I tried to go for the safest one because I knew that I had a strong pace on the hards at the beginning, and the mediums last until the end when you start on hard. So it was kind of easy. I was pretty confident on my pace. I think I pitted slightly too early because I didn't need to pit the lap I pitted. I didn't have much of an information on the cars that I was gonna have to overtake. As you saw, Lucas and Nico went for a few extra laps. That obviously helped them a little bit towards the end of the race. But again, the pace advantage I think I had showed in the second stint where I picked up the cars I had quite easily. I had a good scrap at the end with Lucas, and seems like leading in the last lap is not rewarding enough. So fair play to him, and congrats to Nico as well for the P3.
Yeah, of course. Coming up towards the line, the gap at the line was 0.08 of a second between yourself and Lucas. What was the first thing going through your head as you were approaching that finish line?
Oh, I knew he was gonna win already in the last corner. I think the DRS and the ERS advantage on this game is way too big.
Definitely.
And it's not. You could argue it's not one of the longest run to the finish line from the last corner. Leading in the last lap doesn't seem like the best choice, depending on the track. But maybe with 10% more ERS, I could have maybe stay ahead for a few milliseconds. But congrats to him. I think he had a slightly more, and he won.
Yeah, That's very sportsmanlike of you, so really well done for this evening. That's all the questions I have. Nathan, anything you want to pose to Fabrizio here?
No, nothing apart from I want to say on the reason you got the pole because I said you get pole position. So yeah, well done on that, Fab. Also great in the race. It's a shame you couldn't get that win. It was well deserved, but still a great performance.
Yeah.
We hope to see you yet again soon.
Yeah, it's gonna come. Don't worry.
Good.
Very confident there. I like that one. Thank you for joining us, Fab. I can see that Lucas is in the waiting room. I'll bring in our race winner for this evening, and we'll see if he can hear us. I know we had issues last time he was in the interview room, but Lucas, my friend, are you here?
Indeed I am.
Oh,
Indeed I am.
Perfect. Right, I'll leave you in the very capable hands of Nathan for this interview.
Well, thank you. But hello, Lucas. Welcome in. Great race there. Obviously taking that victory at the last second. What were your thoughts going on to that final lap? Did you think initially taking the lead into the turn four would work, or did you just thought because you was just close enough, you might as well just go for the move anyway?
I mean, that felt like playing 5D chess. I had no idea what was going on for a lot of it. I just knew that I remembered, obviously, on Wednesday we had a race here, and I was just so unsure as to what to go for, because you always want to be in the lead. Like, it's such a... It doesn't feel... You feel very anxious when you're, like, giving up... Or not giving up the lead, but, putting your eggs in, like, for the last straight. It was very sketchy, because I had no idea how much energy Fab had, and big GG to him, because that was impossible to call. I had no idea how it was going to go, but it was a nice little fight between us at the end, so GG to Fab. That was absolutely mental. I'm completely empty after that. I have no idea what happened in that race, to be honest. Like, the VSC was crazy, the fighting was crazy, there was cars everywhere, I don't know how I kept my front wing. Like, I need to watch the race back to actually understand a single thing that's actually going on, because it was an absolute... it was just complete chaos from lap 1 to 36.
Yeah, well, obviously coming out the pit stop, she was like P15. So,
Yep.
Anyway, through the field, what was your ambitions? Did you think a win was possible? Do you think it was even a top 5 that was possible?
No, I mean, the win was 100% the objective, because it was that race. I had to try and be as patient as so I had to be very selective, because like there's times where you have to be extremely patient, and then there's times where you're like, no, I gotta go now. Like, it's so hard to judge. Like, in these moments, it's so easy. I can't describe how easy it is just to end up in the back of another car. You misjudge your braking slightly, or if the person moves just that tiny little bit the wrong way, then you end up with damage, or you end up with your things going completely wrong. So it was extremely, extremely hard to know what to do. But yeah, the goal was 100% to win after the first stint, because I just had to be really patient, because obviously at the start I fell back, but I also knew that those soft runners were going to come back to us later. And I mean, it's like fighting your own emotion. Like, you're thinking, I'm in P8, but I'm P3 of the hard runners, and I knew it would sort of close back up towards the end of the stint, and I was confident in the... I mean, I was confident in the raw pace. It was just, I don't think that's the determining factor as much this year. You've got to be very, very intelligent with how you manage your strategy and your race. So yeah, but the objective was, we wanted to make sure that we had good tyres for the end. So that's why we pitted so late, and I felt like that's where I was let down last week. Sorry, not last week. Last time on Wednesday around this race, I felt like I just maybe pulled the trigger a little bit too early. So I wanted to be patient, pick my moment, and thankfully it worked out for us in the end. But I can say it was not an easy race at all. It could have been. I mean, my qualifying. Honestly, that must have been one of the worst qualifyings I've done in the last 2 years. I mean, I had my engineers tell me, yeah, but you're P5. But for me, that's unacceptable. I mean, I just did not do a good Q3 whatsoever. Completely unacceptable on my side. But that's just because I'm just too perfectionist driven. Like, I'm never happy if I do something really stupid. So I was really, really angry with myself after qualifying, because I just felt like I was... not even remotely driving like myself, which was disappointing. And I mean, invalidating laps that were good enough for pole and stuff like that, and having to obviously abandon them and stuff. So it was just a very pathetic performance on me in qualifying. But I just had to reset and go for it in the race and hope that we had enough to pull it off. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this year's game is completely different when it comes to racing, and we're all learning that very, very quickly now. So, yeah, lots of homework for us to do before we head out for the next one.
Yeah, and obviously you've done you've only completed half of the season. You've done the first round second and 4. You didn't do rounds 1 and 3. Obviously, you've took victories in
Oh
both.
yeah.
Are you looking to try and continue that 100% win streak?
I mean, I can try and be an optimist, but trying to win something 100%. No. I mean, it's not. Yeah, look, we've got so much talented drivers on this grid. I mean, the top end of qualifying was extremely close. I think what we're all finding as well is it's extremely difficult to peak the lap this year. I mean, you can vary your laps quite considerably lap to lap this year compared to the previous years. Being consistent is not so easy. And yeah, pulling out a lap in qualifying is qualifying's definitely harder this year. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Today I got it extremely wrong, which is annoying because I felt like our pace in practice has been extremely encouraging. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just too hard on myself as well. I mean, that's just the way I am. So I'll stop talking about it. But yeah, it's kind of weird because I mean I do all the league races I can. If I'm not available, I don't. That's the only reason I don't race. I'm always racing when I'm available to race. So it's it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's kind of a weird start. I didn't even realise that it was like I've done 2 of the races, but they're the only 2 I've done I've won, which is weird. But I mean, no, it's not going to be 100%. That's foolish to dream of. No way. Because as I say, there's a lot of talented drivers on the grid. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks, Lucas, for the interview. Anything left from you, Dan, before we let him go?
Oh, no, I think I've had all my questions answered. Thank you very much, though. But yeah, really well done, Lucas, for this evening. That's all I can really say to you. I mean, you just come here, you do what you do, and even though you're hard on yourself, you're better than everyone else this evening, and you're able to take a victory. So really well done on that one.
Appreciate it, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. And again, GG Fab, I can see you in the call. Hope you're well.
Yeah, see you
Yeah, that was a close one, man. I had no idea how to call that at all. Absolutely no idea. But no, GG, man. It was a good fight.
Yeah.
But take care, everyone. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Well,
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, Fab.
Oh, we have Luke in the interview room.
Luke. We're not ill. We're not bringing that.
Does he want to talk to us or?
Yuck. Luke Humperdinck. No way. We'll probably talk to him after the stream is over. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I mean, I love just how sportsmanlike both Fab and Lucas were there, because of course things can get very heated in league racing. It's a competitive environment. You want to be the best, you want to take victory, but it was just great to see that they were both so sporting in congratulating each other, and they talked well of each other in the interview. So I'm very happy with how this race has turned out.
Well, with those two, then it seemed like for me at the podium cool down room, with those two having a quick chat. But yeah, it is nice to see drivers feel so sportsmanlike of each other. I think it's something we see a lot. Sometimes it can get a bit heated between drivers, but I think that's the nature of it, isn't it? It's competitive. So, you see it in real life. You're going to see it online. It's just how it is. But yeah, I think it's been a great race of all. I think we've had a few people getting angry. Shinaka was obviously one. Obviously, retired at the end. Obviously, wasn't happy with what happened with him. But I think many other people, there was clean. There's a bit of contact between some others, but I think because everyone was, racing aggressively, I think that's okay. Everyone's racing the same, and not many people came out the bad end of it. So yeah, I think it was decent. I think it's probably one of the best races I've watched. And I don't know if that's because it's on F1 23 or if it's just that Brazil always brings great races.
Yeah, well, I think it might just be WOR PC Tier 1 every single week. It is incredible experience, and I think the fans seem to agree. We almost had 3,000 viewers tuning in this evening, so it was incredible numbers that we have had, and I'm so pleased to be a part of such a fantastic league. But I believe, Nathan, that is all we have really to say. Yes,
I think it is. I just want to say a quick thank you to Luke for letting me jump in at the last second, and hopefully I think Ryan will be back next week. I'm not sure why he's not here, but I presume I don't know if he's ill or something, but yeah. So I hope, Ryan, we see you back again next week. But thanks, Dan, for having me alongside you again. And obviously, thanks to Luke, and thanks to everyone in the chat who's been here all race. It's been such a lively chat, which is what we always like to see, because it makes us know that what we're doing is worth it. We get something out of it. We get this happiness of, everyone being excited for the race, and also all the drivers, jumping in at the end. It's always a nice thing to see. But that's everything left from me, Dan, anyway.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate that the support in the live chat for not just the the drivers and the stream, but for myself and Nathan. This race has been absolutely immense, and it really does make everything so worth it to see so many positive comments in the live chat. And it is really just nice to interact with everyone, because of course we had our little intermission with the, I guess we could say, pseudo red flag in that race, and it was incredible to just talk to everyone, have a little bit of banter, and I think that is just what we should be able to do, because it was incredibly fun this evening, and I hope for a lot more races like this one. But I believe that is everything that we need to cover this evening. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel if you don't want to miss any more races like this. It's the big red button beneath the stream, and once you're there as well, you can please like the stream as well. I'm losing my words at this point. If you haven't already, please as well follow WOR on Twitter at WOR League, and if you haven't already, I'm saying that quite a lot, make sure you join our Discord server if you want to keep up to date with all your WOR news. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1. If you want to follow Nathan, it is Richie R1. It's Richie with the eyes replaced with a 1. You can see it, if it helps. It's just beneath our faces right there. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. We will see you next week. I think it's Mexico we are heading to, which is always a very fun circuit, especially in WOR. So for the final time in this one, thank you everyone, and good night.
Good night.